যদি সবাই ফিরে যায়, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায়, যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায়, তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে। যদি আলো না ধরে, ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে, যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে, তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে, যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে। একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো, একলা চলো রে।
Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. We are back after just 10 minutes. Oh, I was, I guess, 6 minutes late to now discuss this fantastic professor called Dr. What Tantri again? I forgot. Dr. Prasanna Tantri. Why am I mixing him up with someone called Rajiv Tantri? I think I'm mixing him up with Rajiv Mantri, who's also a pro-free market guy. And this professor is in an institution. He's a professor of economics or finance. I forgot. We'll check those details out again. He's a professor in ISB. He's also pro-free market. And our Rajiv Mantri, yeah. So, and our viewer Rishi here said that Vaad Arihant himself has mentioned the name of Thomas Sowell. So I'm very excited for that reason. और मेरा सब preset का है change हो गया फिर से, ठीक है, change कर लेंगे फिर से. तो let's get to it now. We checked out Vaad's discussion with this professor just a few days back. That was his expectations and his suggestions for the budget. And today he's back after the budget is done and his thoughts on the budget. He was very, very, I guess, pessimistic, and he was recommending good free market things, and he was giving brilliant analysis of what the government is doing wrong. So now let's see what he says, whether he's happy with the budget or not. क्या दिन है, व्हाट अ टाइम टू बी अलाइव गाइस. यहाँ पे हिस्ट्री चेंज हो रहा है ट्रम्प और इलॉन के हाथों से. ऐसा हिस्ट्री, ऐसा भोसड़ी वाले चीजें अंडू हो रहे हैं जो कि हमारे बाप दादाओं ने देखा कि सिर्फ हो ही रहा है, अंडू नहीं हो रहा है. देन सी द रेवोल्यूशन इन इंडियन राइट विंग स्पेस के maximum, I don't think maximum, but a very, very significant portion of the core voter base of Modi doesn't even like Modi. Someone thinks he's too socialist, someone thinks he's too Islamist. मौलाना मोदी, कॉमरेड मोदी, ये सब गाली सुनना पड़ रहा है. वो एक पूजा अर्चना लीडर का वो राइट विंग में तो ऑलमोस्ट बंद हो गया है, एटलीस्ट फॉर अ सिग्निफिकेंट चंक. पूरी तरह से तो नहीं. देन वी आर सीइंग सो मेनी फ्री मार्केट गाइज ऑल अराउंड. We are seeing a Bengali libertarian. We are seeing टीकाधारी हिंदी बोलने वाले पॉडकास्टर्स टॉकिंग अबाउट हायक, वन माइजेस, रॉथबार्ड पढ़ा है, थॉमस सोएल पढ़ा है. यहाँ पे वाद पे हिंदी स्पीकिंग प्रोफेसर जाके फ्री मार्केट के बातें कर रहे हैं. और कुछ लोग समझते नहीं है कि क्यों मैं यहाँ पे फोकस करता हूँ कि हिंदी बोलने वाले लोग फ्री मार्केट की बातें कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि हिंदी बोलने वाले लोग एक ऐसे डेमोग्राफी को पहुंच सकते हैं जिन लोगों को सोशलिज्म का चूरन बेचा जा रहा है बहुत सालों से. तो अगर मेरे जैसा लुक का कोई लड़का जाके फ्री मार्केट का बात करे उनसे, उन लोगों को कुछ आता जाता नहीं होगा. वो लोग बोलेंगे ये क्या, जैसे कि अरविंद केजरीवाल ने थिंक स्कूल में जाके गणेश को बोल दिया, उस एंकर को, वो होस्ट को, कि ये तो शहर वालों का या फिर अमीर लोगों का चोचले है कि तुम लोग फ्रीबीज के खिलाफ हो एटसेट्रा. तो हिंदी बोलने वाले टीका वाले लोग अगर फ्री मार्केट की बातें करने लगे तब तो भाई सोशलिस्ट के लौड़े लगने वाले हैं. So what a time to be alive. And then another very significant thing that happened a few days back, a debate between Nupur J. Sharma, Rahul Roshan, and that Tikadhari free market guy, Kaushlesh Rai. All of them having very, very significant, serious disagreements with each other, but having fun, a very, very good, friendly vibe with each other nonetheless. These things were unheard of in the Indian right wing space up until 4 years ago. Hindutva ecosystem is maturing, and एक तो है कि yes, it's definitely maturing, but it's maturing like this. ऐसे उठ रहा है maturity कि मैं बोल रहा हूँ तो ना कि मैं 2021 के एंड या फिर 2022 के शुरू से थोड़ा बहुत थॉमस सोयल लिबर्टेरियनिज्म ये सब बातें बोलने लगा. अब हर दिन लोग मुझे पूछते रहते हैं कि मैंने रॉथबार्ड पढ़ा है कि नहीं, वन माइजेस पढ़ा है कि नहीं, मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन के कितने बुक्स पढ़े हैं. तो इमीडिएटली हमारा तो देखो राइट विंग में ऐसा ही है ना कि एकेडमिक रिगर तो स्टेम वालों में तो एक अलग एकेडमिक रिगर है, हमारे साइड में सोशल साइंस वाले उतने नहीं है, इसलिए हमको नैरेटिव में थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है. मगर अब पढ़ाई तो आता है स्टेम वालों को भी, तो पढ़ना अगर है, सिर्फ डायरेक्शन चाहिए उनको. क्या पढ़ना है बोलो, सीताराम गोयल पढ़ना है, अचानक लौड़े ने सब लोगों ने सब सीताराम गोयल पढ़ लिया. अच्छा राजीव मल्होत्रा पढ़ना है, सब कुछ पढ़ लिया. अच्छा लिबर्टेरियनिज्म थॉमस सोयल पढ़ना है, सब कुछ पढ़ लिया. अरे ऐसे ही तो मैच्योरिटी इसलिए आएगा. तो अब तक सिर्फ डायरेक्शन का प्रॉब्लम था. ओके लेट्स चेक दिस आउट नाउ.
As you turn.
I don't know. But when US was growing at 8%, 9%, what was the government expenditure to GDP ratio? 10%. So for us, we are central government itself is 15%. But I have a conspiracy theory on this. We are the fastest growing economy on earth, right? And our RBI
अच्छा इनकी ऑडियो को क्या हुआ, वाद ने जल्दी में ये क्या ऑडियो निकाल दिया.
is sitting there thinking we are consuming too much. This would have been very dangerous. I am so happy that.
What's wrong with the audio? It's not because of StreamYard, right? Can someone check it out parallelly and see if this audio has does their original audio have this slightly echoish quality? I'll check my settings out as well.
Government did not take that path. You have to explain why were we forecasting 7.2 and it became 6.6. जो policy मैंने सोच के बनाया था कि 7.2 है, वही policy 6.2 पे 6.6 पे नहीं होगा.
Right.
Immediately आपको change करना था.
Namaste, sir. How are you?
All good. Welcome to Hyderabad.
Sir, on popular demand, we are conducting this show. So, what is your analysis of the budget?
I think this is more or less on expected lines, at least by what we discussed. But before we discuss the budget, so let us have a look at the budget. I think we will keep talking about so many numbers. People may get totally confused. So what is this budget all about? So if you see here, this number, if you see here, this 50,65,345, this is the number.
Let me refresh.
No, government has realized and made a U-turn.
I think the problem is on their end. Unke sound engineers ne screwed.
And remaining 5 lakh crore will come from people have to keep in mind our GDP is about. So if you see here, this number, if you see here, this 50,65,345, this is the number that you, 1 second. Yeah. Do you see this number 50,63,000? This is our India's total spending, expected spending next year, 50 lakh crore. So people have to keep in mind our GDP is next year expected to be 356 lakh crore. So 356 lakh crore is going to be our GDP, and the central government will spend 50 lakh crore. Now the question is, if they have to spend, they have to earn. Anyone, whether it's government or anyone, where are they going to get that 50 lakh crore from? So there, if you go up, 34 lakh crore is going to be their regular income, normal regular income. Now, what is government's regular income? That should be next question. Obviously, taxes, right? So out of that, 28 lakh 37,000 crore will come from taxes, and remaining 5 lakh crore will come from PSU dividends, RBI dividend, and all of that, right? So 50 lakh crore they're going to spend, 34 lakh they're going to get. What about remaining 16 lakh crore? They're going to borrow. That is your fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is what you borrow basically. So that number is 15 lakh 86,000, 15 lakh 68,000. This is a structure on the income side. Now let's look at expenditure side. What do they do? 50 lakh crore. So out of that 50 lakh crore, 11 lakh 21,000 crore is capex, which you and me keep talking about. So that is 11 lakh 21,000 crore. 39 lakh 44.
तुम लोगों को कैपेक्स का मतलब पता है तो? अरे तो जो लोग यहाँ पे तो दिख रहे हैं तो सब तो पहुंचे हुए इंसान है, मगर अगर कोई बच्चे देख रहे हैं भाई, तो कैपेक्स का मतलब है कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट साइड.
2,000 crore is regular government expenditure. Government schemes, transfer to state governments and all kinds of expenditure. Out of that, the biggest expenditure in 39 lakh crore, can you guess what it is? Interest payments. And that
Obviously.
is 12 lakh 76,000 crore. So 50 lakh mein 1/4 of our budget is interest payment. 1/4.
More
right?
than capex.
Right, more than capex. That is interest payment. And 3944 is regular expense. And so out of this 3944, 4 lakh crore, 4,28,000 crore is a capex loan.
ये देखो प्रिविलेज लोगों के चोंचले, टू कोट अरविंद केजरीवाल. तो तुमको किसने कह दिया कि हर किसी ने यहाँ पे 10th ग्रेड में इकोनॉमिक्स पढ़ा है?
That central government gives to state government.
Is it a loan?
It is a grant, sorry,
Okay.
around 4,28,000 crore, but only on capex. And the remaining thing is on revenue expenditure, regular expenditure. So this is the sort of structure of the budget. If broadly, just to 50 lakh crore expenditure.
देखो क्या क्या सब नाम दे रहे हैं आजकल के हिंदुत्ववादी. तुम लोगों को के दिमाग में ये सब अमेरिका प्रोपागेंडा, वेस्टर्न स्टाइल कैपिटलिज्म किसने घुसाया? किस भोसड़ी वाले ने घुसाया? नाम बताओ उसका. उसको हम कार्ल मार्क्स पढ़ाएंगे थोड़ा, और या फिर इंटीग्रल ह्यूमनिज्म पढ़ाएंगे. यहाँ पे एक नाम है थॉमस चैड सोएल. डीपी में है कोई हिंदू राजा. फिर वहां पे एक आदमी पिछले लाइव स्ट्रीम में था, उसका नाम है मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन, तेरा भला करे, who is by the way just quoting one of my jokes.
50 lakh crore income. So expenditure 39 regular, 11 lakh crore capex. Out of 39, 12 is interest payment. And there is a 4 lakh crore which is a capex grant.
Okay.
Income out of 50, where is it coming from? 28 from tax, 5.5 is regular PSU dividend and RBI and all of that. Remaining is borrowing.
Okay. So
this is a structure.
Okay. So what we discussed in the last video, right? There were some suggestions given by you that the expectation was that the expenditure that we have kept at 50.6 lakh crores,
Right.
this will be increased to 52 or 53 lakh crores.
Right.
That was the
General expectation. Yes.
But they have reduced the spending.
Yes.
Right. And they have also cut the taxes also.
Yes.
And they have also reduced by expectation.
देखो थोड़ा ही काटा है, मगर फिर भी थोड़ा ही सही.
They've also reduced the capex.
Yes.
Capex was 11 lakh crores
Already. So expectation it could have been 13, 14
12,
something.
Yeah.
12, 13.
So what are the changes, broad changes that you see, and what were your expectations, so that people don't have to go and watch that video? We'll just summarize it here.
Yeah. So what we said was sort of not very popular that time, because you remember when we met, it was 5.4% growth. And the popular narrative was that we had 5.4 because government did not.
एक बात ना मेरे दिमाग में अटक गया है. कहाँ सुना, किस पॉडकास्ट में सुना याद नहीं है. कोई कंफर्म करो कि क्या सच में इकोनॉमिक्स सर्वे में इस बार ये लिखा गया है, आइदर बाय संजीव सन्याल और शामिका रवि और बाय बोथ बेसिकली, कि अगर 8% ग्रोथ फ्रॉम हियर टू नेक्स्ट 20 इयर्स नहीं होता है तो विकसित भारत का आइडिया पॉसिबल ही नहीं होगा. ऐसा क्या, या फिर समथिंग अकिन टू दिस क्या लिखा गया है इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में? किसी ने सुना है या फिर पढ़ा है इकोनॉमिक सर्वे, या फिर कोई पॉडकास्ट में सुना है? रिलैक्स लीड, यू कैन सेंड मी इन मेल, बट कौन अब इस वक्त खाना पकड़ा है तो मैं भूल जाता हूँ मेल चेक करना. 2-3 दिन बाद चेक करता हूँ. नहीं तो तुम इंस्टाग्राम में भेज सकते हो या फिर ट्विटर पे डीएम कर सकते हो. डीएम तो नहीं आता है शायद, वेरीफाइड अकाउंट है इसलिए. तो इंस्टाग्राम में ही भेजो, या फिर ट्विटर पे ऐसे लिंक दे के टैग भी कर दे सकते हो मुझे, मेल भी कर सकते हो.
Not spend. So government has to increase spending, and you and me were cribbing it, especially we were cribbing that they should not spend.
Yeah.
So if you see last year budget, look at this third column, you will see a number, budget estimate called 48,20,000 crore. Last year their budget was, in the last budget, they are going to spend 48 lakh crore. And every year it goes up by 10%. So that is why if they had continued on that path.
ओ अच्छा, इकोनॉमिक सर्वे तो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर का प्रिंसिपल इकोनॉमिक एडवाइजर लिखता है. यस, आई फॉरगॉट दिस ओनली. होली शिट. वैसे हमारे सारे के सारे इकोनॉमिक एडवाइजर्स काफी फ्री मार्केट हैं.
They would have ended up spending 52.
आई थिंक एक तो मिथ बन गया है इंडिया में कि इकोनॉमिक सर्वेज आर ओनली फॉर द जर्नलिस्ट, द पॉलिटिशियंस डोंट फॉलो इट एनीवे, व्हिच वुड टेल यू दैट आवर पॉलिटिशियंस आर सोशलिस्ट बट द इकोनॉमिक सर्वे पीपल आर more pro market. But then would it be fair to say that PC Mahalanobis was the first and the last economic advisor who was a brain rot socialist commie?
2 or 53 lakh crore this year. This was the sort of expectation. And our recommendation was you should not do that. I'm not saying they acted on our recommendation. There was a reason, because we realized, and you also realized, in fact, we were talking a year back. You remember, throwing money will not lead to capex. These are real projects that need to be completed. And we could see that we are already reaching that threshold that you are not able to complete, not because of lack of money. You have other constraints, land and, technical issues and so on and so forth. So our recommendation was that limit it to 50 lakh crore. Don't go to 52 lakh crore. Don't spend this, don't make roads from nowhere. Whatever is important. At the same time, we said, do make metro, do make things which are important. But right now we are reaching a level. So keep capex at 11 lakh crore only. Don't grow it. And total expenditure, make it 50 and cut taxes. This was our expenditure. Fortunately, this was our hope. And I won't say expectation, but that seems to have happened.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, because of popular narratives, expenditure बढ़ाओ, capex बढ़ाओ.
हाँ भाई, ठीक है, मतलब टैक्स तो कम हुआ है, पहली बात, एक स्लैब के लिए एक काइंड ऑफ बड़ी बात है ही, मगर ये भी एक ब्रॉडर कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अगर थोड़ा जूम आउट करके ये देखो, ये सोचो, ये कितना सिग्निफिकेंट बात है कि एक प्रो मार्केट इकोनॉमिस्ट प्रोफेसर रैंडम, जिसके साथ गवर्नमेंट का कोई फंक्शन नहीं है, वो एक ऐसे पॉडकास्ट में बैठ के एक ऐसा चीज बोल रहा है, एक ऐसे पॉडकास्ट में जिस पॉडकास्ट के साथ गवर्नमेंट का कोई कनेक्शन नहीं है, जिस पॉडकास्ट को बहुत सारे हिंदुत्ववादी पसंद भी नहीं करते हैं, उस इकोनॉमिस्ट का सिर्फ आशा फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट वो हो भी जाता है. तो देयर इज सॉर्ट ऑफ अ connection between the way a lot of people are thinking in different walks of life today in India, bro.
And all of those kind
so
of
that is a
narratives.
good thing that has
That is a
happened.
good thing. So government has reduced itself. Think about it. If you go back, if you see first column here, government expenditure is 44,43,347. This was a time when GDP was 295 lakh crore, around 15%. Now GDP next year is going to be 356 lakh crore. And the expenditure is just think about it. GDP has gone up 55 lakh crore. 295 say 356, 60 lakh crore. The total expenditure has gone on 44 to 50, just 6 lakh crore. Right? So the proportion of expenditure from 15%, so 60 to 6, incrementally it is growing only at 10%.
Yeah.
Right? So this is
as a percentage, it has come down.
It has come down. On the extra, it has come down dramatically.
Yeah.
But total also, if you see, from 15, it has come to 14. My biggest recommendation is this should be the marker. People talk about tax. What is tax? Whatever government spends is tax. Either it takes you directly today or it borrows and it will charge you tomorrow. So this is the tax. If you're really worried about cutting taxes, this is the number you have to target. Government expenditure as a percentage of GDP should come down. Central government. I am not even talking about state government. See, central government is 50 lakh crore. State government spend another 50 lakh crore.
Is there a historical
मद्रासा और माइनॉरिटी एजुकेशन का बजट सब याद है? एक साल तो मैंने करके छुपा रखा, 2022 का प्रमोट ही नहीं किया डर से. फिर 2023 में सब लोगों ने खुद से ही रिसर्च किया, या फिर मैंने 23 में किया था और 24 में और थोड़ा बवाल हुआ. 24 में बंगाल का माइनॉरिटी और मद्रासा एजुकेशन बजट का
reference that you
कुछ
can give
समवेयर अराउंड 5,500 करोड़ का बजट है.
this country use this as a marker and we can learn from that?
Many. So one famous thing is there's a very good book by Milton Friedman, Free to Choose. And he looks at US and the high growth period that US had. So we do this mistake of comparing US today with India today.
Holy shit. ये सच में हुआ. ओफ, अमेरिकन प्रोपागेंडा, वेस्टर्न स्टाइल कैपिटलिज्म बोलना बंद आज से बंद. आज से इंटीग्रल ह्यूमनिज्म बोलना बंद. फक, योगाक्षेम के नाम पे फ्रीबीज देना बंद आज से सोशलिस्ट का, हर रंग का सोशलिस्ट का, ग्रीन सोशलिस्ट, सैफरन सोशलिस्ट, सबके लिए आज से पहनने को कपड़ा नहीं होगा, खाने को रोटी नहीं होगा, क्योंकि यूएसएआईडी ने ये सब बंद कर दिया है और हिंदी इकोनॉमिक्स डिस्कशन पॉडकास्ट पे मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन का नाम उठ गया है.
We are at 2,500 per capita. Even if you do purchasing power, we are at 8,000-9,000. US at 70,000. They're different countries now. But when US was growing at 8%, 9%, what was the government expenditure to GDP ratio? 10%. That's what Milton Friedman shows in his book. So for us, central government itself is 15%. State, you add another 8-9%. right? So my goal is central government should, my recommendation is it should come to at least 12.5%. When we were growing at 8%, we were at 12-13%. So, and now we seem to be going that way. That is what makes me really delighted. You can see, I'm so happy that from 15 now we are coming to 14. My hope is we gradually go. We should not go suddenly. Things changing suddenly has its own consequences.
True.
Grow slowly like this. Next year,
It has its own consequences, but it's not necessarily always bad. It might be good, it might be bad. And there might be negative costs and bad costs to also going slow as well. ठीक है, ये objectively एक good एक bad ऐसा नहीं है. कभी झटका ही काम आता है.
Directionally, it is very good.
it's a big direction change.
Okay.
And we should go in this new change direction.
Chalo, spending is good.
Yeah, spending is good. That part is done. I think it's a good, in fact, I feel reduction in capex is realistic because they were already reaching a limit. And I want to make one point. Look at this.
ये आईएसपी का क्लासरूम है या स्टाफ रूम है भाई? कितना फीस लगता है यहाँ पे पढ़ने के लिए?
2 years ago, the capex, you will see this capex number, total spending 9,49,195. This was 2 years ago actual spending. The budget was 10 lakh crore. They could not spend 51,000 crore. This was 1 year before the election se pehle. Last year they budgeted 11,11,000 crore and ended up spending 10,18,000 crore, 1 lakh crore less. Right? So this tells you that popular explanation to this is somehow they are not spending. It's not they're lazy or they, and they have money.
Yeah.
So it is not that they don't have
Clearly
money.
budgeted.
Clearly there is, the budget and they have money. Their tax collection is good. Despite money, why are you not able to spend?
There are so many constraints.
You know it. You know it. It's constraint is not just money. You need approvals. You need other equipment. Some import has to come. There's so many things that go into let's say you want to do a power project. It is not just money. So really we are just excess providing.
We have Amir Khan.
Based on given our state capacity, and this time they have realized and again put it to 11,21,000 crore. Now there will be some inflation. Same 10,18,000 is as good as 10,50,60,000 next year.
And what happens is, sir, that when you
start from the beginning. Milton Friedman discuss हुआ यहाँ पे.
Budget a certain amount for certain departments, they will find projects.
Yes,
because they don't want their budget to reduce from next year.
Excellent.
Yeah.
In fact, there will be pressure in March.
थॉमस चैट्सवेल यार, थॉमसवेल नाम बोल के उत्तर देने में भी हंसी आ रहा है. देखिए थॉमसवेल जी, आपके लिए तो मेरे मन में बहुत सम्मान है, मगर फिर भी ये बड़ा कंसर्न उतना नहीं है. फिजिबिलिटी का क्या है कि मोदी जी को, बीजेपी को, गवर्नमेंट को, हर गवर्नमेंट को ही लगता है कि कुछ चीजें फिजिबल है, कुछ चीजें फिजिबल नहीं है. राइट? तो जो फिजिबल है वो प्रेडिकेटेड ऑन व्हाट, कि मैं ये करूंगा तो कोई कुछ बोलेगा नहीं. जो फिजिबल नहीं है, जो डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ चीजें फिजिबल नहीं है, वो फिजिबल नहीं है कि बहुत सारे लोग मना करेंगे. और कुछ चीजें डिमांड है तो करना ही पड़ेगा. अब हमको सोचना है कि हमारा जो डिमांड्स है, प्रो फ्री मार्केट पॉलिसीज, प्रो फ्री स्पीच पॉलिसीज एक्सेट्रा, टेम्पल फ्रीडम, वक्फ बोर्ड एलिमिनेशन, ऑल सॉर्ट्स ऑफ लिबर्टेरियन आइडियाज, ये कौन से कैटेगरी में घुसाना है. ये ऐसा तो नहीं है कि हाँ करना चाहते हैं कर भी लेंगे, बहुत लोग मना करेंगे. और ये अभी यहाँ पे है कि बहुत सारे लोग करने जाएंगे तो मना करेंगे, देयरफॉर नॉट फीजिबल. तो हमको वो वोटिंग ब्लॉक बनना है, वो प्रेशर ग्रुप बनना है, वो इंटरेस्ट ग्रुप बनना है, जो दम के साथ बोल सके कि ये तुमको करना ही पड़ेगा, हमारा बात सुनना ही पड़ेगा. वी हैव टू बिकम दैट नॉन नेगोशिएबल वोटिंग ब्लॉक ऑफ दिस राइट विंग गवर्नमेंट, सो कॉल्ड राइट विंग गवर्नमेंट.
Your money, you spend it. The worst thing is in March there is pressure to spend. I think some of these 10,18,000 is already reflective of that. I was thinking it will be 9.5 lakh crore. It's already some pressure because all these analysts and all pressurizing the government. Why are you not spending? That is why economy is slowing down.
Yeah.
In that case, the analysts should say make it 20 lakh crore. Economy will go to 10%.
Actually, this point was highlighted by Modi ji himself in one of his interviews, I think.
Right.
Ki if you give so much budget and they will end up forcefully spending it.
Yes.
Even if they don't need it.
You know that's inevitable, right? कास्टिज्म तो इनएविटेबल है. स्टेटस बेस्ड बैड बिहेवियर, स्टेटसिज्म, स्टेटस हायरार्कीज थोड़ा बहुत फ्रीज होते होते फिर उसका चुतिया बिहेवियर करना, वो इनएविटेबल है ही. इसलिए मैं तो इन फेवर ऑफ झटका हूं. इसीलिए डिसरप्शन होने से अचानक सबका स्टेटस हिल जाता है, तो स्टेटस के बेसिस पे कोई चुतियापा नहीं कर पाता है. अगर वो ग्रेजुअल प्रोसेस होता है तो सब कोई सेटल हो जाते हैं. सेटल हो जाना सेफ हो जाना अपने पोजीशन में ही मतलब तुम्हारा स्टेटस थोड़ा बहुत फ्रीज हो जाता है और तुम उसके बेसिस पे तुम फिर हरामीपंती करना शुरू कर सकते हो.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is total waste. So this 1121 is very realistic. So spending, I was just adding to that spending part. The other thing I was talking to
Yeah, so Shastri, we cannot hope for a situation where it will never happen. We will never be able to prevent it. What we have to do is that the moment a status is on the verge of being solidified and therefore on the verge of doing bad behavior on the basis of status, we have to immediately disrupt it with economic situations. So fast reforms, always with jhatka.
you, right? The grants to state. Do you see 4,27,000 crore? That I think they have over-provided here. See, last year they made a budget of 3,90,000 crore. They could actually spend 299. 1 lakh, almost 90,000 crore less. Now they are hoping that this year they're going to spend 1,30,000 crore more than last year, what they actually spent. I think they'll spend at least 50,000 crore less here and maybe 30,000 crore less here. This will be less than 50 lakh crore. This is my guess. But maybe they will spend. I don't know. Right? That's on the expenditure side. But on the expenditure side, I'm really happy. Now let's come to your question on income side.
Yes.
Right? So on the income side, of course, I'm super happy that it's a very clean tax cut. 85% of direct taxpayers will not pay any tax. I think you can't
And even people who are in higher slabs,
they'll pay less.
they're also getting some benefit.
Yes.
70,000, 1 lakh. Yeah.
Yes. So they were, some of the podcasters who are doing really well now will pay less tax. Right? Some of the top podcasters in India.
So there are a lot of misconceptions around it, that if you are earning 12 lakhs, 1,000.
वैसे तो लास्ट दिन जब मैं बोल रहा था कि अरिहंत कितना पढ़ा लिखा बंदा है, तो बहुत लोग पॉइंट आउट कर रहे थे कि वो पहले कॉलमनिस्ट था. कॉलमनिस्ट कहाँ था? स्वराज्य में ना. तो अब देखो ये कौशलेश राय जो खुद भी बहुत पढ़ा लिखा बंदा है और बहुत बढ़िया बोलता भी है, तो ये भी तो ऑप इंडिया में ही काम कर रहा है. वो ऑप इंडिया में लिखता भी था क्या अब बहुत बढ़िया पॉडकास्टर्स एंड पॉलिटिकल कमेंटेटर्स निकल रहे हैं इस सीन से, और यंग गाइज
है ना. So you will pay more tax than the person who is.
I'm not a tax expert.
Yeah.
I'm not a tax expert, but there is a simple rule anywhere in the world that your take home should not reduce because you cross a slab. That's called marginalization. And this people should have
not invented by Nirmala Sitharaman.
No, it's already there. It's always there. Earlier you used to have surcharge. For instance, above a particular level you had a surcharge. It doesn't mean that if you have 1 crore 1 rupee, your income will be lower than 99 lakh, take home will be lower than 99 lakh 99,999. You will only pay that extra 1 rupee as surcharge. The surcharge percentage could be whatever it is. That is, there is no such, this marginalization is always there, right? So, but I think this is a very clean tax cut.
Okay.
इनकम टैक्स डिपार्टमेंट को फायर करते हैं पूरा. बहुत टैक्स है अलग जगह से, एक्सपेंडिचर और कम करते हैं, इनकम टैक्स पूरा का पूरा बंद करते हैं, या फिर नहीं तो फ्लैट टैक्स रखते हैं बहुत ऊपर वालों के लिए, ऊपर के टैक्स स्लैब्स वालों के लिए. और क्या ये टॉप अर्नर्स 30% टैक्स दे रहे हैं, जो कि सबसे प्रोडक्टिव है, सबसे बढ़िया काम कर रहे हैं, सबसे जिनके दिमाग में बुद्धि है, वो लोग 30% टैक्स देंगे. वो लोग वो 30% पैसा अपने पास रख के कुछ और में एक्सपेंडिचर, वेंचर्स, नया बिजनेस, नया कंपनीज, या फिर नया अपना कुछ भी अपना नया कुछ नहीं करेंगे. ठीक है, बाकी 70% है उनके लिए, मगर वो 30% से और भी कुछ बढ़िया हो सकता था, बिकॉज दे आर द ब्राइटेस्ट फकिंग माइंड्स ऑफ द कंट्री. उनको हम 30% टैक्स देने को बोल रहे हैं.
Very, very clear.
And how much it will cost the government?
Official estimate, they're saying 1 lakh crore plus.
Okay.
That is their number. But I have a slight worry here. Having said all good things, if you see their actual tax to center, this last year budget, last year's number, which is the year which is going on, they are likely to finish with 25,56,000 crore.
No, Eke Brahmo, only the current traditional caste names वाला casteism चला जाता है, और वो cosplaying, fancy dress party का casteism चला जाता है, मगर अलग तरीके के caste होंगे. Castes are status groups, remember. Status groups and status based bad behavior रहेगा ही, आज भी है, वैसे भी पैरेलली चल रहा है अभी तो दोनों हिंदुस्तान में.
This is to center. State ka, after removing what they have to give to states, they are now saying this year they're going to make 28,37,000.
Okay.
which is a increase of like 12-13%.
Okay.
Now you are giving such a
If you
massive,
discount the inflation,
yeah.
how much is that? Like
So this
in real
inflation
terms,
maybe
1 lakh crore.
5%, 4-5%. Inflation. It's a 6-7% growth in real terms.
So around what? 1 lakh crore?
Yeah. So 25.
हाँ, उन्होंने तो कहा था कि बुद्धिमान लोग मोनोपोलाइज कर लेंगे, तब कैसे चलेगा बाबा? हम लोगों को तो इडियट्स को काम देना है.
6% will be that only. Yes. So
1 lakh
you are expecting that kind of a growth despite giving such a massive tax cut.
Okay, so effectively we can say 2 lakh crores.
Not 2 lakh crore. So to know that effective, I may end up confusing your viewers here. There is where I'm a bit worried, but let me make an attempt. This 28 lakh crore is the revenue coming to center. Remember, there is a finance commission. You remember 42% goes to states. So the total tax they plan to collect this year is 42 lakh crore. 42 lakh crore they plan to collect. Last year they collected around 38.
In normal course, how much would they have collected this year?
42 in my view.
42.
So
So 1 lakh extra they are
losing.
planning to collect.
Yes, so despite losing 1 lakh.
Despite losing 1 lakh. So
lakh
effectively 2 lakh crores.
No. So I think we had this discussion. See, if they had not cut these taxes,
Okay.
they would have gotten 42 lakh crore.
Okay.
Now that they have cut taxes, they would have gotten 41 lakh crore.
Yes.
But they are saying they will still get 42 lakh crore.
Okay, they're saying 42, not 43.
Not 43.
Okay.
42 lakh.
Yeah, then 1 lakh crore.
1 lakh crore.
Yeah.
That's all. So they are somehow thinking that the 1 lakh crore they are going to lose will come through extra compliance. Somehow, right? I fear this. My fear is once you give a target to the taxman, they will find a way of, taxing you. This is giving, it should not happen that after being so generous and giving such a nice tax cut, it should not happen that you become too stringent on GST. You become too strict on something else. Start issuing notices over notices. Like Tariq pe Tariq these days, notice pe notice. Could
Or
be,
popcorn type GST.
you invent something.
Yeah.
You have dosa with ghee or dosa without ghee or something,
Yeah.
Then we will be in trouble. But I have a conspiracy theory on this, if you want to hear.
Yes.
It's not scholarly at all. Totally conspiracy. And nobody has told me. I have no insight in this. Is my own conspiracy theory. Now, what happens
believable.
is the 1 lakh crore that government has cut in taxes is not all lost to center. Every rupee that center collects, 42 paise goes to states.
42 में वेस्ट बंगाल को जो मिलेगा वो तो किस पे खर्च होगा भगवान ही जानता है.
Actually, they have cut states income also.
Oh,
So when they say we are losing 1 lakh crore, that is out of 42, not out of 28. 42 mein 1/3 share is of the states.
True.
42%, not even 1/3. So states are losing 42,000
अपने पैरों पे खड़े हो भोसरी वालों.
crore. Center is losing only 68,000 crore. In fact, there is surcharge. Surcharge is different. Entire surcharge
goes to state. Center, sorry.
So if they had cut surcharge, then it's a different story. Right? So that is why starting from Chidambaram and Jaitley and even the current finance minister, they have heavily relied on surcharge. One of the advantage of surcharge is that the entire money comes to center. Says, of course, they call it education, they call it whatever. It is not, there is no
Krishi
rule that,
Kalyan.
Krishi Kalyan and all. There is no such thing that you have to do it of Krishi Kalyan. Now, if they had cut surcharge, then states have no problem. They won't lose anything. What they have cut now is the tax. So states will lose 42,000. Now, if you had shown this as 41 lakh instead of 42 lakh, some state would have picked up. You're cutting my income also, right? Now, if you show 42, I'm giving you 40 lakh crore. Whatever you would have got, I'm giving you anyway.
True.
So then next year, when they come, actual happens, we'll see. So my conspiracy theory is they are not going to go stringent on taxes. They will actually
Which is the best case scenario.
Which is the best case scenario. They will actually collect less, 41. And this state may watch that 4,27,000 they said they're going to spend, they will not be able to spend. Like this year, they spent 2,90,000. That much they may not be able to spend. Even capex, I think they won't be able to spend. So effectively, we are fine. This budget, when we see actuals, will look like, say, 49.5, 50, and revenue also
on
will be
paper,
lower.
there are potential dangers.
Yes.
But the likelihood of it is panning out is very less.
Very less, but cannot be ruled out.
Yeah, cannot be ruled out. But for the best case scenario, it is good. Tax cut ho gaya, spending reduce ho gaya.
There will be more resources in the private sector.
Yes.
So I think this is good. But I
want to ask one question here because it's good that we have got the tax cuts for people who are earning less than 12 lakhs, right? And for higher
Other
slabs
slabs.
also. But our main problem here is that the rich and affluent
Eke Brahma, in theory that is true, but also then that gives or pushes the states to do their free markets more and to not depend on the state. अगर जैसे कि वेस्ट बंगाल का है कि डिपेंड करना ही है दे 2 पैसे और 2 पैसे, तो उन लोगों का चाप है. Thomas Chadswell is saying that many criticize comparing space budget to defense budget, considering the performance of defense institutes. What would you say on this? Meaning that whether they should be compared or not. Dada, pause and highlight the holes in government program. Yes, I highlighted all of them. And they have a margin of, yeah.
are leaving the country. So shouldn't we focus also on those people and give them incentive to stay here?
Yeah, I don't think tax.
How can we do that?
I don't think tax is the only reason why they are going.
Obviously,
You know, the place other than Dubai. See, of course, we can't be a Dubai. Let's be honest. We can't have a zero tax country. You know, we can't be Dubai. Just look at the numbers. If you open up, you know, it may be too much for
also
your
people
viewers.
don't just make monetary decisions in
There are many
situations
things.
like these.
Yeah. So and yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So
saying
people
want to stay close to their parents, and there are a lot of factors involved.
Yes.
But at least monetarily, we can incentivize them to stay here.
Yes. So I think this 100 city program, if we can make cities more livable, better, and I think that
No, zero tax country and zero income tax country are not the same things. Tax तो अलग जगह से भी आ रहा है.
will go a long way. You know, some of the reasons people, the quality of life, infrastructure in the city, all, you know, if we
our
improve,
cities become like ISB campuses,
yeah, things become nice here. I think many of them, and also
हाँ, अब ISB का ऐसा कैंपस क्यों है? प्राइवेट इंस्टीट्यूशन है कि नहीं?
So merit based, there should be some sectors where, you know, you recognize merit, you support innovation, and all of that happens. I think many of them, and ease of doing business.
Yes.
Ultimately, you know, I know some of the entrepreneurs are now coming back also. There is growth here, so it is not one-way street. You know, they're coming out also, but tax is only one component. Make it easier. You know, more than the rate, sometimes it is the
because
process.
if more than 1 lakh people, I think, are leaving the country every year.
Yes.
And most of these people are very affluent, like high earning individuals.
And intelligent.
Who would be paying maybe thousands of crores of tax over the lifetime. So this is very important.
Right.
But yeah, we can come to that in the reforms part of this discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So let's discuss the tax cuts. Isme one thing that we are listening is like experts are telling us that there will be a consumption.
लिवेबिलिटी का मतलब गड्ढा का तो ठीक है, कर सकते हैं. ट्रैफिक जैम्स का मुझे नहीं लगता है कि कुछ किया जा सकता है अनलेस वो और भी रोड्स ब्रॉड करते रहो. ट्रैफिक जैम्स तो हर सिटी में ही है, तो देयरफॉर हमको ट्रैफिक जैम्स में यूज टू होना है ऐसा भी नहीं है. मगर ब्रीदेबिलिटी का तो मुझे नहीं लगता है कि अनलेस देयर सम ग्राउंड ब्रेकिंग India specific innovation, it can be solved. I don't see any way out of the air quality situation.
Multiply.
Sure.
That 2% extra growth will come. Will from 6% will go to directly to 8% this year itself.
Okay.
So what do you think about that? Like, what is your analysis? Will we get a growth stimulus from this tax cuts only?
I think we will get a growth stimulus, but I don't think consumption is the road.
Okay.
Right? Let's understand what the government has done. Government has cut government expenditure. What is government expenditure? This is a payment which would have gone to someone. Someone would have earned it. A government employee would have earned it, or a contractor would have earned it. Somebody, a consultant would have earned it. They would have also spent it. The whole argument of consumption multiplier is, if I get 10 rupees, suppose I spend 7 rupees out of it, whoever is on the other side, that my expenditure becomes that person's income. That person will spend, let's say 70% of 7 rupees. And like that, the thing will keep going on. And that's why you get 1 by 1 minus r. You are an engineer, you understand.
Trickle down.
This geometric infinite series, you just have the sum it up. 1 by 1 minus r.
तो भाई ट्रिकल डाउन फ्री मार्केट से नहीं होता है, इतना दिन सुन रहा था. अब गवर्नमेंट एक्सपेंडिचर से ट्रिकल डाउन होता है. प्रॉब्लम है एफिशिएंट एक्सपेंडिचर का. एफिशिएंटली यूज नहीं करेगा गवर्नमेंट, अगर यूज करेगा तो वो 7 रुपए ऐसे लोगों को देगा जो कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर में 5 रुपए में या 4 रुपए में सेम काम करने को राजी है. वो है प्रॉब्लम. तो वो 7 रुपए करके क्या उखाड़ लेगा, उससे हमको क्या है.
Right? This is the argument. But here there are two things happening. It's not just one thing. If it was a deficit financed spending, then that argument is correct.
Please explain this.
So you have not cut any expenditure. You've given money in the hands of others. Then this is extra consumption coming.
Okay.
Here it is not like that.
You are simply cutting the spending,
cutting some spending,
and also removing the taxes.
Giving more money in the hands of somebody.
Yeah.
Reducing money in the hands of these government employees.
Take 1 rupee from here, giving 1 rupee
yes,
there.
Exactly.
So it's just simple transfer, but it could be more efficient.
Absolutely.
Because you have the money you are spending directly, and here there will be some loss because कोई contractor होगा, कोई रुपए खाएगा बीच में, कोई इधर efficiently use नहीं होगा.
Efficient use is a separate argument. So हम इसको ना, we have
I just mentioned this. Nice.
Separate this argument. The short-term Keynesian multiplier argument and efficiency of use these two are very separate arguments. Multiplier argument is very simple. That here the assumption is there is no supply constraint. Matlab, you go to a restaurant, you can eat any number of dosas. There is supply. They have ability to make dosas. If you have more money, you eat more dosas. That's all. That is the short-term view of the economy, which is true actually. Short-term mein, supply can respond. Just go and, have you not seen sweet shops during festivals? They can suddenly scale up, right? In short term, you can scale up. So the argument is that if you give money in the hands of
2-3 दिन के लिए थोड़ा 18 घंटा 20 घंटा काम कर लेंगे.
of people, they will spend. When they spend, it becomes income of someone else. That person will spend, and that will become income of someone else. That person will spend, and you have multiplier. But here, what is happening is they are cutting expenditure. When government was spending, contractor efficient, inefficient is in his production.
Okay, I got it. So you are saying if they had not cut the spending and only given tax cuts, then you could have said that there will be additional multiplier.
Yes. Now the only argument is how
if they had not cut the spending and only given tax cuts, then you could have said that there will be additional multiplier.
Yes. Now the only argument is
No, but it's still not efficient spending. Efficient spending ही तो चाहिए हमको. अगर वो स्पेंडिंग सिर्फ और सिर्फ कंजम्पशन के नाम पे हो, तब ये वो हमारे सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी और अभिजीत बैनर्जी का जो सजेशन था कोरोना के टाइम पे, उसके साथ और इसका क्या डिफरेंस हुआ?
What was this is called marginal propensity to consume. What is the marginal propensity to consume of the contractor versus marginal propensity to consume of me, for example, who is getting benefit? If mine is higher, consumption will increase than that guy. If that person's was higher, consumption actually can go down.
Clearly, it will not be significant.
It is not very significant. It can be a little bit.
But not as significant as people are saying.
It's not going to create some magic from that channel. And there is a danger. Now before we go to think why, but I still think it will increase GDP for a different reason. Before going there, what is the danger of, suppose government had done that? In fact, if you remember in your last episode, I was fearing they will do that. Because people like me are pressurizing ki tax cut karo. There are people who are saying expenditure kam mat karo. Then what is the way out? Keep the expenditure and cut taxes, which means what? Deficit, which is money printing, which is exactly. Their consumption multiplier will happen because contractor is also spending. Arihant and Prasanna now will start spending. Now the problem is, where is the supply going to come from? In the short run, just to understand for reviewers, think about it, all that we consume is dosa. Just for simplicity. It's not true.
No, Thomas, well, actually, I asked you that what are the arguments? Are they saying that they shouldn't be compared, or they are saying that they should be compared? I mean, they shouldn't be in similar amounts. Was that the criticism? But off the top of my head, though, they can't really be compared because one is in self-defense and one is for education. Education is always a luxury when you have disposable income, comparing it with an individual level, of course, whereas self-defense is more of a necessity.
Suddenly we have doubled the money without earning. We have not produced anything. We go ask for, instead of 2 dosas, we ask for 4 dosas. Who's going to make those dosas? One day, this dosa owner can make the employee work a little bit more, can pay
This comparison has its limits, because after all, the dosa owner is a private entity handling his own money. He is the direct shareholder and the stakeholder in the business. He is spending his money efficiently. The government is a third party non stakeholder. उसके साथ डोसा ओनर का कंपैरिजन है पॉसिबल ही नहीं है on a philosophical level.
Pay the same amount per hour wage. There will be maybe this employee will have to work 2 hours more and will pay same per hour wage. We'll pay extra, but per hour is the same.
So that is short term mein he can manage.
He can manage with usko thoda flexible karke, right?
But constantly if
constantly
he does,
that guy will ask, I used to go at 5 o'clock, now you are every day have to go at 6 o'clock. Give me more. Once that happens, our extra income will go as extra price for those.
yes,
Now the worst part is
that's what inflation.
That's what inflation is, and that's not the end of it. Now the government is used to this high growth, because now growth is going down, dosa production is going down. Government, these people will say consumption or badao. Then you print even more money. Then you start anticipating. Last time, now you will short term also will not respond. If your owner starts saying now already he's making you work 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours, you will say immediately start giving.
Comparison
That is
ka
called
limitation
inflation
hai.
expectation. Once inflation expectation sets in,
Government is not a dosa owner.
then you are like Venezuela. So this is a very dangerous thing. Those who say give consumption stimulus and all, that is, look, this is an emergency medicine. Like
हाँ वही तो अभिजीत बनर्जी ने रिकमेंड किया था, सुब्रमण्यम स्वामी ने रिकमेंड किया था और ट्रंप ने कर दिया था. संजीव सन्याल मोदी ने बोला नहीं हम ये नहीं करेंगे.
you are in China right now. What's the problem? There's a lot of production. Prices are sticky. There's no
चाइना
consumption.
हर बात पे चाइना.
There is where you need this kind of thing in a crisis or COVID time. We are the fastest growing economy on earth, right? And our RBI is sitting there thinking we are consuming too much. and this would have been very dangerous. I'm so happy that government did not take that path of artificially stimulating consumption.
हाँ, and me being a pure humanities student and a journalism college dropout who has studied science up until class 8, understood that Abhijit Banerjee and Subramaniam Swamy were wrong and it would cause inflation just by reading a bunch of Thomas Well books, listening to a lot of his audiobooks, and listening to many free market people, and taking 2 microeconomics courses on Coursera and a financial markets course on Coursera. मगर ये इसके खिलाफ तो I'm not saying that I'm therefore more knowledgeable than Abhijit Banerjee and Subramaniam Swamy, but I have no fucking clue why they advocated for it.
That they have not done. Rather, they have taken a difficult thing, which is not good in the short run. May not be good because there is not going to add anything. I'm cutting that contractor's consumption and making you and me.
No, so why does it have to be public infrastructure? You'll pay to use a road. We pay tolls anyway, and it gets maintained better that way. If you want good quality infrastructure, then it's better with private capex.
Consume. Where is the net thing? Except, as you said, minimally, let's say, marginal ho sakta hai, but therefore it is not going to be inflationary also. Do you see?
Yes.
In the long run, we are not making the dosa guy make extra dosas now. Right? Because
so it's sound economical thinking.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Right? Now coming to the question, then how will it benefit? Why am I getting so, you look at my eyes, why am I getting so excited? The benefit is the following. And here is where reasonable people can disagree, Aryanji. People need not agree with me. It is my assessment and people may completely disagree. My assessment, based on what I have observed, and I think here you also agree with me, that initially infrastructure was going very good. But last few years, it is becoming wasteful. These are becoming pet projects. Randomly, we are opening airports called Udan Air. I don't know, there's no flight going on. I don't know why we open them. Highways we are opening wherever it's easy to do rather than solving problem. You were explaining when we were talking that Haryana to some place, it's reduced by 50%. But once you reach that stage, it takes extra time to reach Delhi.
Yeah.
So effectively,
हाँ तो आर्बिटर के लिए आर्बिटर का फीस और बनाने का फीस तो सेम नहीं हो सकता है.
Travel time to Delhi remains the same or even worse.
Yeah.
And we are improving that stage which is already improved further, rather than focusing on this stretch.
True.
So it is not going to add.
There are a lot of bottlenecks that need to be focused first.
And that is not money issue.
Yeah.
Why are we having bottlenecks? Some case is going on. A land acquisition, there is a problem.
Or there is not good.
Yeah, I'm Shastri, you believe that the smaller towns also deserve some push, no? There is an argument for that. In theory, though, it does sound nice. Even Sanjeev Sanyal argues for it. Ke bhai, he's not that pro free market in this sense, or that even I guess libertarian or something in that sense, because he says that if you improve the quality of life, bigger businesses come here anyway, and therefore people are able to have better jobs in that town anyway, just by building better infrastructure in that city. There is an argument for that. तो हाँ, तो मतलब you can't have everything, तो उतना तो पैसा है नहीं, तो you will have to pick one. They have picked this one.
Planning.
All of this. It is not just money, right? So this kind of wasteful expenditure was going on. So just to understand, let's create a very how I think this.
हाँ, इसमें अब है therefore there has to be bigger say and from localized governments. And so you can now say that how will we decide then about a national highway that's going from Delhi to Kanyakumari? So sections, small sections पे locals पैसा देंगे.
It will help the economy. Let's think of a very simple situation. Again, let's make a hypothetical case. Then I'll make it real. So assume there is a farmer. Okay, there is a farmer, and there is a restaurant. Again, restaurant, those are restaurant. You know that you're in South India, so we are not going to serve rotis.
Dosa with filter coffee.
Dosa with filter coffee. You're going to get that only. In fact, even in Delhi, I go to Saravana.
But that is costly. In South, you can get good coffee for 20 rupees.
Okay, there it is expensive. I have never bothered, so I have not.
You have too much money, na? That's why some money needs to be taken from you and given to some
I
poor
can see
people.
your viewership also. I can count. That's fine, right? So let's say this farmer produces 2 kgs of rice, and revenue makes a revenue of 100 rupees, right? So and there is no input. So because this guy has himself worked and made, this guy has 100 rupees, farmer. Now this rice, this farmer has produced rice, is an input for your restaurant. So they buy rice worth 100. Let's say they pay wages of 80. They have these workers and all that, and they make profit of 20 rupees. And let's say they sell dosas for 200 rupees, right? 200 rupee dosa, and that is how this much profit. This is how economy is running. What is the GDP of this economy? Dosa worth 200. GDP is final goods and services produced. Rice is an input into dosa, right? 200 rupees worth dosa. Let's say 2 dosas is the GDP. Now, imagine government introduces tax. What is tax? On income, let's say. Who is earning here? The rice farmer is earning. Worker in the restaurant is earning. Profit of businessman is earning. Let's say they take 50% from all of this, which means they take 50% from the farmer, which they don't, which you don't talk about. I will question you one day.
There are too many poor farmers in the country.
I understand. And they take, let's say, 40 rupees from this poor guy, middle class guy, our favorite. Everybody is middle class. That's the funniest thing. I also claim middle class. It works here. Whatever may be your income, you can claim middle class. Right? That's a nice thing.
It's a vibe.
And they take 10 rupees from the profit, business profit. Now they have taken 100 rupees from here. Now this 100 rupees they give to this somebody in the government who does nothing, just for argument's sake. And this guy is not producing anything. He's having 100 rupees. He is going to come and buy
More dosa.
He's buying the same dosas. Instead of right now, so earlier if this was no tax, who would have bought dosas? Farmer would have bought dosas, worker would have bought dosas, and the restaurant guy would have bought dosas. Now who is buying dosas? They are buying less dosas. Half the dosa is bought by this guy who produces nothing. This is my view.
Ladli Behna.
Whoever it is, right? No, I'm saying Ladki Behan.
Ladli bhi hai, Ladki
Ladli is Maharashtra, right? Yeah. So now, no, I'm not talking about that. That is not government expenditure. That is called transfer payment. Technically, otherwise आपके comment में नीचे आएंगे, तो इसको professor को इतना भी पता नहीं and all that, right? वो जो subsidy देते हैं ना, that is not called government purchases. It's called transfer payment. Government purchase is salary, infrastructure, and those kind of things. Imagine they were building an airport in some god-forsaken place. It was giving no value to the economy. But usko paisa de diya.
Imshatri ka dream.
But he will come and eat dosas. Dosa production has not improved in the economy, right? You will show airport value as GDP, but actually it is not adding anything. Or let's say you hired government contractor for nothing, right? Now what is happening is
consultant
or whoever, right? Now what is happening is, in this, I'm making it extreme. you remove that contractor, consultant or whatever. Tell I'm not going to pay you 100.
अजीब बात है भाई, हर जगह पे मतलब हमारे सोसाइटी में अब ऐसा लग रहा है कि हर प्रश्न में, हर प्रॉब्लम का एक ही सोल्यूशन है कि बाबू डम हटाओ। ये कैसे हो सकता है कि हर प्रॉब्लम के पीछे भोसड़ी के एक बाबू ही मिलता है? अब ये किसी को पता है क्या, ये एयर फ्राइट मार्केट ग्रोइंग के पीछे बाबू को क्या इंसेंटिव है कि ये वो करने नहीं दे रहे हैं वहां पे? हर जगह पे क्या क्या अजीब व गरीब क्या घूस बना के रखा है क्या? Why are they doing this? At least in this very niche topic even.
Which means you don't need to tax these people, right? Now this money is in their hands. Worker will get full 80 rupees. If you make it zero. Of course, they have not made it zero. Businessman, the restaurant owner will have full 20 rupees. And the farmer will have full 100 rupees, right? They will eat dosas. Instead of that guy, total number of dosas will be same. Of course, you can argue they will eat more dosa, less dosa. I don't know. That can happen with what reality is. So now where is the increase in GDP coming from? There are two sources. The guy who was getting money for nothing.
Siltation का कितना problem है? In reality, I don't know.
Will have to do something, no? He will have to do Bharatanatyam maybe. Something to earn, no? Because money is with me now, right? So that is the extra goods, productive good or service that will get produced now. Those who are doing wasteful work with the government, wasting their time, because government has not taken money through markets. They have kept a gun on your head and taken this tax. There is a difference between government borrowing and this. Government borrowing is they also go and borrow. They have to repay. Tax में problem ये है कि it is not with your consent. Government borrowing is with your consent. They have to offer you interest. This is not like that. Otherwise they will put you in jail. That money they were giving to this guy. Now this guy will have to produce something. He will let's say make tea shop in front of dosa hotel. Now with the same resources in the economy, you have dosa and tea. Do you see dosa prices will fall? Because its resources are the same. So GDP will go up. The other reason GDP will go up is, think about a worker. Earlier I worked, I got 80 rupees, but 40 rupees only was my return. After tax income was 40. That can demotivate me. Now I'm going to get 80. So I may produce, instead of making 2 dosas, I can make 3 dosas maybe. Or instead of 2 kgs of rice, farmer may work on produce 3 kgs of rice. This is long-term sustainable way GDP will grow because of this. Having said that, I should also give you the other side. What if that contractor doing was useful?
That's where good capex comes.
Yes. What if he was making a pond for the farm, which is absolutely necessary? Then rice production will fall. That's the question. That is why I'm saying I am willing to respect those who disagree with me. The reason is, this is my assessment. My observation is pond, this money is not going to pond, it is going to some random airport in some extra money, out of some money. See, we never said make it zero. We said don't make it 13 lakh. Prioritize, right? So then it is useful. For that I have a counter. If pond is useful, borrow from the farmer. If pond is useful, you are giving the money back to the farmer, right? Borrow from farmer. Go to markets. Farmer will not eat as many dosas, right? You can go and borrow financial markets. Convince the farmer that I'll give you at some interest rate. Farmer will not eat dosas, rather lend to you. Why do you need to keep a gun on farmer's head and take money and give it to contractor?
So basically, this is we are giving one example, which is very basic.
Yes.
But we discussed this in detail in the previous video,
right?
Where we talked about if there is infrastructure project which is costing say X number of crores. So you go to the markets rather than taxing people more, right? So that was the rationale that we are applying here also.
Yes, we are applying, and government seems to be following at least this year.
Directionally, it's
Directionally
going
seems to be
in a good direction.
It's a good direction.
Hopefully in next year's budget and next year's budget, they will keep following the same direction.
Yes. So, but one subtle thing I'm adding is, while I agree on the GDP growth part, I am very positive, but it is not through consumption. Now you are releasing wasteful resources, which is in my opinion wasteful. It need not be. Maybe it is good to do something constructive. That is one reason why GDP will grow. The other reason is you are increasing my returns to work. If I had worked earlier, somebody with 11 lakh rupees income, if after working would have gotten 10 lakh rupees, now we'll get 11 lakh rupees. So the incentive to work will increase. And for that also there is a counter. You may say that I'll work less now. There's an income effect and there's a substitution effect. The substitution effect I am arguing is the guy will work more. The income effect is my target was 10 lakh rupees.
हाँ, अब वर्क लेस मतलब वो भी पैसिव इनकम के लिए इधर उधर इन्वेस्टमेंट तो करके रखेगा आई गेस.
Now there is no tax. I will work less and make that 10 lakh
You
rupees.
have to simplify it.
Okay. So what is my argument? My argument is, suppose you worked 2 hours before. Now you're getting more money per hour of work. Is that simple? Because tax
For
is going down.
tax, yeah,
For same hour of work, you will get more money in your hand.
true.
I said GDP will increase because it will motivate people to work more. Because the way economists see work as cost of leisure. Instead of working, you could have slept at home. When you sleep at home, think about it. If you sleep at home, you are losing income.
Now that you have some incentive,
You have more incentive to work.
yeah,
That is one possibility.
exactly.
ये
So
क्या
people
अजीब
may work
गुलाग
more.
है.
But there is a counter.
काम कर बहुत
There may
सीखे.
be someone who may think all that I need in life is 100 rupees per day. Earlier to get 100 rupees, I had to work 2 hours. Now because tax rates have gone down, I will get 100 rupees with 1.5 hours work.
नहीं नहीं भाई, लीजर आर्ग्यूमेंट का थोड़ा लिमिटेशन मुझे जितना समझ में आता है थोड़ा बताता हूँ, क्योंकि ये बहुत कॉमी भी आर्ग्यूमेंट देते हैं. इज नॉट अ कॉमी बट कॉमी भी आर्ग्यूमेंट देते हैं कि भाई ऐसा एक समाज बना दो कि जहाँ पे मैं काम थोड़ा बहुत करूं और मगर थोड़ा लीजर पे टाइम स्पेंड कर सकूं भाई. जैसे कि 4 आवर वर्क वीक वगैरह ये सब का जो एडवोकेसी है, तो 4 आवर वर्क वीक अगर सब कोई करने लगे तो बाकी मतलब दिन में ही तो 4 आवर वर्क वीक मतलब दिन में कितना घंटा, क्या मैं तो मैथ्स में उतना अच्छा हूँ नहीं हूँ, मान लेते कि क्या 15-20 मिनट का काम होगा पूरे दिन में. तो बाकी दिन तुम क्या करोगे, ये जो करना कुछ है वो करने के लिए जो सर्विसेज तुम दूसरों का कंज्यूम करोगे वो लोग भी अगर 4 घंटे ही काम करे पूरे वीक में, वो तुम्हारे तक पहुंचेगा भी नहीं चूतिए. तुम तो कुछ ना कुछ कंज्यूम करते रहोगे, या तो तुम्हारा फैन एसी चलेगा, नेटफ्लिक्स देखोगे, फिल्म देखोगे, वो कहां से प्रोड्यूस होगा. तो अगर तुम लीजर में भी हो, अगर तुम नॉन एम्बिशियस भी हो, इवन देन यू आर गोइंग टू कंट्रीब्यूट टू द इकोनॉमी बाय कंज्यूमिंग समवन एल्सेस प्रोडक्ट्स.
इतना भी नीचे नहीं गए.
The way economists see work as
4-day week. No. There is a 4 hour. It can't be 4 hour week, I think. Yeah, 4-day week probably. Yeah.
cost of leisure.
But there was some hilarious number of hours as well per week, like 10 hours per week or something.
Instead of working, you could have slept at home. Think about it. If you sleep at home, you are losing income.
Now that you have some incentive,
You have more incentive to work.
yeah,
That is one possibility.
exactly.
So people may work more. But there is a counter. There may be someone who may think all that I need in life is 100 rupees per day.
That doesn't mean
Earlier to
he's
get 100 rupees, I had to work 2 hours. Now because tax rates have gone down, I will get 100 rupees with 1.5 hours work.
But इतना भी नीचे नहीं.
तो भाई फिर भी वो कंज्यूम करेगा. दिन में 20 घंटे ही नेटफ्लिक्स देख ले और मूवीज बनाना पड़ेगा, या फिर वो पहले काम करता तो कम मूवी देखता, तो एक और सेक्टर बूस्ट होगा क्योंकि वो घर पे बैठा है.
मतलब,
I'm saying
it's all depends
that's
on
called income
the
effect. No, it's a
power of incentive,
yes,
right?
it's a legitimate point
Yeah.
that it happens with students. No,
Okay.
it is not that unrealistic. Think
Achha.
that you are a student who is working to meet your ends when you are not thinking of building a house and all that. All that you need is fees parents have given,
Your
and
expenses
expenses,
covered.
right? And for some reason you get a hike. You will actually work less.
हाँ तो ठीक है, कितना सोएगा अगर फैन में एसी में तब भी कंजम्पशन है. अगर फैन एसी में नहीं सोया तो इधर उधर जाएगा, घूमेगा, रेस्टोरेंट जाएगा, कॉन्डम खरीदेगा तो एटलीस्ट.
Because then that extra 1 hour you can use for studies or partying or whatever, right? So it is not necessary. I'm just giving you the other side, but by and large, that is not true. By and large, substitution effect.
When we look at the masses,
on
for
an
example,
average, I think
so
people
many crores of people who
Yes.
have got this,
Yes.
on average,
they'll work more.
yeah,
They'll work
absolutely.
more. They will work more. And this guy who was doing wasteful contracting with government will have to do something productive.
Yes.
He will have to satisfy me to take my money. Earlier, he had to satisfy some government officer.
True.
Now he has to satisfy me, which means he has to do whatever Bharatnatyam, haircut, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Which is an economic activity. Respected.
And government also will think twice,
Right.
because they have now this limited budget of say 10 or 11 lakh
that
crores.
point Modi ji said that will also apply. You said you can just throw money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can prioritize the projects they need,
Yes.
and where capex ka return multiplier is much better, right? So they will invest there more.
Yes, and then borrow.
Yeah.
See, I understand. For instance, defense. Maybe it is not very profitable. You may have to do it. You understand it better. Those cases, tax, I totally understand. Or welfare, absolutely poor people, you have to take care of them, education and all of that. Maybe if you raise bonds, nobody will give you money because it's not profitable maybe in the short term.
Basically, focus on only those services which are only
Can
provided
be
by
done
the
by
government.
Judge, justice,
Yes.
police, you can't do anything.
And this is also the area where most reforms are needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are not doing much. Enforcement of contract has not improved at all.
True.
Right? So there, I think what it will do is, last 2-3 years, somehow government had gotten convinced that all that you need to do is to spend a lot of money on infrastructure, economy will grow, this multiplier thing, and then tax, don't have deficits, and because macro should look good, so tax.
अभी सरकार थोड़ा सा लाइन पे आ गई है.
I think line पे आ
वो
गई
थोड़ा
है.
रीथिंकिंग हुआ है कि ये काम नहीं कर रहा है.
हाँ.
Let's try something else.
Correct.
Which we
रीथिंकिंग है कि पहले से ही जो बोला जा रहा था अब वो सुन रहे हैं.
also discussed in the previous video.
Absolutely. So I think
So you must be very happy कि
absolutely, I'm delighted.
Yeah, your video has reached PMO.
That I don't know. Maybe you must have spoken the kind of reach you have. I don't have. But then at least we were able to at least think through that this direction, because it was very obvious that this is not working. Right? So and
unfortunately,
हाँ भाई 2016-17 के वीडियोस में संजीव सन्याल बोल रहा है कि जुडिशियल रिफॉर्म्स सबसे पहले, जुडिशियल रिफॉर्म सबसे एआई डालो, कुछ करो, जुडिशियल रिफॉर्म सबसे पहले चाहिए, और वो आज तक हाथ ही नहीं लगाया.
not many people were saying it loud.
Yeah, the problem I see with a lot of advice, something is not working, they want to do more of it.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Why do more of the same thing?
It's called perks of being a third-party non-stakeholder. You are not accountable. You are not feeling the brunt of your stupidity.
Yeah. They've increased infrastructure expenditure. The suggestion is do even more. Right now, you're not able to spend what is allotted. Suppose this year, imagine they had allotted 15 lakh. How will they spend?
Yeah.
Then they just have to throw money. Call all contractor.
Infrastructure, क्या ये legally possible है कि without building a consensus and stuff, without passing it in bill? नहीं, ये तो possible नहीं होगा शायद ना. हाँ, उसी के लिए वो प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए तो कॉलेजियम बना था. हाँ, I'm thinking in the lines of executive order and stuff. नहीं, वो तो नहीं होगा इंडिया में.
Somehow take the money, I don't care where
and
you
it
invest.
becomes as bad as phone banking.
Yes, it will become that one. So that I think we are now, the good thing I see is government has realized and made a U-turn, and which is great. While my worry about tax target remains, every now and then I have to remind that
This is the headline.
Yeah,
Modi does U-turn.
I don't know. Who does U-turn and all, I don't know. Who did or whatever. But this is
सरकार
clearly
ने किया है, वो
सरकार ने
अच्छी
किया है,
चीज है.
अच्छी चीज है. I think people have to and also for your viewers, it is not that don't start buying a Dabur and all of that tomorrow morning saying consumption triple हो consumption. ऐसा नहीं होगा.
By the way, Anish Shetty, what is CAD theory?
Because कहीं पे consumption कम हो रहा है, कहीं पे ज्यादा
ये
हो
जो
रहा है.
टैक्स
Oh, complexity theory, क्या?
बच रहा है,
Right.
ये हम हमेशा ऐसे ही क्यों सोचते हैं कि we think that consumption will increase.
No, you'll save also.
We can only save also.
Of course.
Right? We can put extra 50,000 that we are getting in some FD or in some mutual fund. We can save.
No, that is short-term thinking. Keynesian thinking ऐसे होता है. In Keynesian economics, supply is considered as given. है आपके पास investment. Supply आ जाएगा. So then you don't have to invest. Because it's short-term, right? Think about it. If you want to buy 3 more dosas, do you hire more workers? In 10 days, suppose you want to double dosa, you can do with same worker, same restaurant, same number of facilities.
You gave good example of festival season.
Festival
Diwali.
season, people do, Navratri mein they'll do, get some labor from somewhere. But if you want, that cannot be permanent. That guy will ask for higher wage.
Yeah.
If you make higher wage, then this whole game is over. Permanent is way you grow is through invest, become more productive. Everybody should learn. The contractor who is now wasting money with the government should learn, invent some Bharatanatyam or something.
So give some value, add some value, produce something. That's how economy and GDP.
धोसा के रेस्टोरेंट में ही भरतनाट्यम करेंगे. जैसे कि पब्स होते हैं जहाँ पे अकॉस्टिक गिटार से रॉक बजता है या फिर रॉक अरेंजमेंट में बॉलीवुड बजता है, तो वहां पे भरतनाट्यम होगा.
He grows,
Yes.
not by consumption.
No,
Yeah.
consumption is necessary. See, consumption is important. Is
But that
when
Oh, complex adaptive system. Yes, yes. On the basis of that only, he wrote the AI regulation paper, which we had discussed from our live streams long back. You were not a subscriber, I guess, back then.
will come now. If you are producing more, that will come.
that is so the only time it won't come is in a crisis. In a crisis, what happens is, suppose imagine you are a car manufacturer. You estimated that 100 cars will be sold this year, and everything was good in the economy. And you hired me. Imagine you and me are the only two people in the economy. So you produced 2 cars, thinking 2 cars will be sold. I worked, you gave me wages for the car, right? Now, after I worked and got this income, now I am depressed. I see Ukraine war. I see some government
Depressed means therapy or pharmaceutical industry ka boost, bro.
election 240 ho
या
gaya.
फिर rat poison का boost.
You know, I feel kya hoga abhi, coalition government and all of that. I get worried. Now I don't buy your car. I earned by producing that car only. Remember, expenditure is equal to income. Right? Your expenditure, my income. Hope was my expenditure will be your income. Now you are sitting on 2 cars. I buy only 1 car. Now the normal economic logic is car price should fall. Because demand for car has fallen, car price should fall and market should clear. But people have shown in the short run, it doesn't fall.
Short
That is
run
why you
में
see
नहीं.
all the real, do you see sometimes in
Yeah, this is like 8
By the way, अर्जेंटीना में 18% कार्स का प्राइसेस कम हुआ है.
wonder of the world
right
that there's so much inventory,
inventory,
right? In every city,
right.
and so many flats are empty. Still, you don't. The
Rent control भी है ना.
rents are increasing,
Exactly.
right? The prices are out of control,
Right.
and nobody can afford them. And like we listen to all these news channels and
हाँ तो वो खाली कैसे रह रहा है? क्या कुछ मनी लॉन्ड्री चल रहा है क्या?
analysis that 100 crore flats are also selling out like hotcakes. How is that
Oh,
happening?
that is different. You know, right now what is happening, I'll come to that.
Yeah.
But what you pointed out, real estate, not what is happening right now in India. China, for instance, right now, you have a lot of unsold stuff. Prices, you know, Great Depression in the US, 1929, it was exactly like this. So this consumption argument, I don't want to dismiss. Consumption is very important. It's a short-term, very important argument. Ki if you have produced and if there is no demand, prices don't fall. When prices don't fall, you have to artificially stimulate demand. Print money, do something, otherwise you will keep, imagine, next year you will produce even less. And then you will employ even less people. And it can spiral into a depression. So in a crisis, government coming in and stimulating consumption is a legitimate tool. But it's like an emergency medicine. Remember, emergency medicines have side effects.
Right? You can't survive on just steroids.
The side effect is, if you start doing it, see, you have this cough syrup. Cough syrup can be cough syrup and also substitute for alcohol.
Yes.
Right? Now I am saying India is not a patient. India is healthy, fastest growing economy.
Yeah.
You don't recommend
So you only come when there is crisis boost consumption.
To boost consumption because production has happened. Prices are not going down. Nobody and people are having money but not willing to buy.
True.
Then you have to sort of give money to those sitting.
Willing to buy नहीं है तो क्या है भाई, वो पैसे से गाड़ी ही खरीदना है. ये कैसा अजीब टॉप डाउन अप्रोच कभी नहीं जाएगा. गाड़ी नहीं खरीद रहा है तो वो पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है? मिट्टी के अंदर तो नहीं घुसाएगा आज के दिन में.
Then that is fine. That is not a long term solution. That can only solve. It's a business cycle issue.
अरे श्रेयांश प्रसाद तुम कहाँ थे भाई? 50 तक PM हमने वही डिस्कस किया पिछले लाइव स्ट्रीम में, 2.5 घंटे के पॉडकास्ट में.
So we have to see, look, we have to understand this thing, right? So I'll just draw for the benefit of your viewers. You wanted professors to struggle with the this
That's
one, and
exactly
and
what's
that's
happening
exactly
right
what
now.
is happening. No, hopefully,
You will figure out.
Yeah, I'll figure out very quickly. I think I did, right? Yes, this is not coming through.
So somebody can help.
No, wait. I don't need that.
That's your ego speaking.
Yeah, I think now I have to. No, I got it. Yeah, it's here.
Okay.
Right. Think about any economy. Okay. Now this is the long-term trend. But in that long-term trend, this is business cycle. You will have all of this. most of our discussion is about these business cycle issues.
So we are focused on the exceptions
Always
and apply
business
it
cycle.
to the rule.
Yeah. So what we should be interested in, how do we see, like right now our potential is 6.5%. Who is telling this? Government is telling. I am not saying this. Economic survey 6.3 to 6.8. When your potential is 6.3, if you're growing at 5.4, this consumption stimulus can bring you back to 6.3. I am not concerned about that. I am concerned about why we are at 6.3.
Why we are not crossing 8.
That won't happen through consumption. That will require investment. So we have to get
Yes.
out of, especially
Nice.
people like us who are academics and we are focused on long
और वैसे भी वो 6.3% करने के लिए जो consumption चाहिए होगा वो that will come at the cost of inflation. Inflation is a hidden tax anyway.
We should not spend too much time unless there is a depression going on. Always business cycle. You know, all the discussions in India, government spending, tax cut, RBI rate
No,
cut.
we say that politicians are focused on short term. मतलब सबसे ज्यादा तो ये
Scholars है.
स्कॉलर
वही तो मतलब वो सर पे इलेक्शन वो थोड़ा चेंज होगा वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन से शायद
इकोनॉमिस्ट ये
short
फोकस
term.
कर रहे हैं शॉर्ट टर्म
The discussion should be हमारा लॉन्ग टर्म ट्रेजेक्टरी अभी 6.5% में क्यों है, उसको 8.5 कैसे किया जाए, या 9 कैसे किया जाए.
Exactly, that was the central point of our discussion last time.
Yeah, that discussion is not happening. So this government consumption that we are talking, government-led consumption is useful in the downturn, right? You know, when you are lower at business to bring it up, you do it. That's fine. You know, RBI rate cut will do it. Our downturn is deliberate, done by RBI, which we discussed last time, by keeping rates high.
Yes.
If you remove it, we'll be fine. There is no need for government to do anything.
So directionally, we can say government has started working in the right direction.
Right direction this year.
Now, in this year, they can do is like cut more taxes on oil, or they can rationalize some taxes in GST, or at least bring down the complexity there.
Yes,
Right?
they can start with complexity.
Yeah.
They can reduce.
They can start with complexity. कोई तो सुन रहा है ऊपर बैठ के, सरकार में बहुत ऊपर, आसमान में नहीं. The only way we can increase our GDP is by manufacturing and exports. The surplus money we gain should be invested into research and development. There's zero talk on that. Manufacturing and exports. Interest बोल रहा है कि I wish folks like Tantri came out to say abolish collegium, scrap basic structure. Academics, at least serious, humble, soft-spoken academics like him, who are not bombastic academics like Mr. Sociologist or Sanjeev Sanyal. Sanjeev Sanyal is not really an academic, but has the qualifications of an academic at least. So they like to stay in their lane. They will say that no, that's not my field, so I won't comment on it.
Use these excessive surcharges,
Yeah.
but they won't. You know, again, conspiracy theory. Surcharge, who keeps?
Center.
Yes. So I don't know whether they will, whatever it is.
But let's say the best case scenario. So we are saying that they have started working in the right direction.
Yes.
And if they do these things, it will be
ऋषभ, उसमें तो बहुत लोग खुश होंगे कि बोलेंगे कि अच्छा देखो RBI is so independent.
very helpful.
Yes. Next year, at least next year. This year they've already done it.
So अभी चंगा सा हुआ है और सब चंगा तब होगा जब ये सब भी अच्छा करेंगे.
हो सकता है.
But
Yes.
this is on the government part.
Right.
Now the main problem is RBI that we also discussed last time.
Yes.
Now a lot of people in our last discussion, because we didn't discuss the details, so many people commented that if your recommendation that is to bring down the interest rates, if they follow that, you know, inflation will increase. A lot of people commented that.
वाह मोदी जी वाह.
But we didn't discuss the details. So I
देख रहे हो विनोद के ये मैं बोल रहा था कि मैंने जब संदीप सन्याल का इंटरव्यू लिया था ना मेरे पॉडकास्ट में, मैंने उनको पूछा था कि क्या आपने एक आई गेस एक नाइव नूब क्वेश्चन था कि क्या आपने इकोनॉमिक्स में बीए किया है, एमए किया है, क्योंकि मैंने देखा है कि जो लोग इकोनॉमिक्स में एमए बीए करते हैं वो लोग और भी आसानी से एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं लोगों को, और जो लोग इकोनॉमिक्स में बीएससी एमएससी करते हैं वो लोग थोड़ा ओनली टेक्निकलिटीज में ग्राफ वगैरह इन सब में लगे रहते हैं, किसी को आर्टिकुलेट करके समझा नहीं पाते हैं. तो थॉमस वेल का बीए एमए है इकोनॉमिक्स में, तो संजीव सन्याल भी इतना बढ़िया समझाते हैं कि स्पेशली इफ यू रीड हिज 2008 बुक जिसके ऊपर शशि थरूर का टेस्टिमोनियल था और द इंडिक रेनेसा, वहां पे जैसे इकोनॉमिक्स समझा है मुझे पूरा लग रहा था कि भाई थॉमस वेल पढ़ रहा हूँ. तो फिर उन्होंने बोला कि नहीं मेरा तो एमएससी है. तो so which goes to show you that then where the fuck is he getting his comprehension skills from? Reading a bunch of other topics which he has read obviously. बट देखो थॉमस सोयल ने कितना बढ़िया समझा है मुझे इकोनॉमिक्स, सिर्फ उसका उनका 4.5 बुक पढ़ के, और बहुत सारे अलग चीजें भी, बट मेनली थॉमस सोयल.
I want you to focus on that aspect in this conversation कि ये तो सही बात है ना.
Correct.
जो लोग हमको भी यही बताया गया है कि अगर आप इंटरेस्ट रेट कम कर दोगे तो इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ जाएगा, और
Correct.
इन्फ्लेशन ना बढ़े, ये तो बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर डॉक्ट्रिन है हमारा अभी, राइट. 4 to 6 के बीच में रखना ही है.
Correct. 2 to 6 के बीच में.
2 to 6 के बीच में. 4 is the I think ideal
middle one.
yeah. So in what scenario
Right.
will inflation increase, will it not increase? Can you explain all these scenarios?
Yes. उस पॉइंट पे इतना गाली
Yeah,
पड़ा
exactly.
कि मैंने कमेंट्स पढ़ना ही बंद कर दिया. Like, क्या हो रहा है?
Yeah.
क्यों बोला मैंने, right? Okay, so let me clarify what I mean.
That actually gives
हाँ ऋषभ, जेयू में है, बीए इन इकोनॉमिक्स, 4 साल का कोर्स है.
us an answer that whenever we say things,
Right.
we should also explain it as much as possible.
Yeah, I understand. So I also agree. Sometimes this excuse that
अब आरबीआई रेट कम करने से ही इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ जाएगा, ये थोड़ा
it is too complicated for you to understand is an excuse for I don't understand what I'm
Yes.
saying.
ओफ, क्या बात है.
That's what I feel.
Exactly.
It's not that complicated. I get. So you have to understand this. When RBI reduces or increases interest rate, what actually happens? Something people should understand. When I say RBI is reducing or increasing interest rate, what they are doing is, so how does RBI say increase or reduce interest rate? RBI reducing interest rate means they are infusing money in the system. They come to the market and buy bonds. RBI buying bonds is reducing interest rate. Because when you RBI buying bonds means what? RBI lending. It's like if you have an extra supplier of mangoes, what will happen to mango price? It will fall.
Yeah.
Right? That is how they reduce interest rate. Now, that is why those of your people who criticized our discussion, there is a point. This, we believe in Puro Paksha, right? We don't criticize those who criticize. There is a point. What they're actually telling us is that, are you telling RBI to infuse more money into the system?
या लाइक हमारे गुरु थॉमस वेल कहते हैं, देयर आर नो सॉल्यूशंस, देयर आर ओनली ट्रेड ऑफ्स. अब ट्रेड ऑफ तो एक्सक्यूज ट्रेड ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट का स्लिपरी स्लोप है कि देखो बोलेंगे कि देखो ट्रेड ऑफ है कि कैपिटलिज्म आएगा तो वो किज्म आ जाएगा, तो नहीं करते हैं वो ट्रेड ऑफ. भूख तो गरीब रहो, वो मत बनो.
And if you infuse more, reducing rate is infusing more money because RBI has to come and lend, which is what they did, by the way. They were forced to some days ago, so then it will lead to inflation. Their concern is genuine. But for that, we have to understand the context. What is the context in which we are operating now? We are operating in a context where government itself is excessively disciplined. Imagine a situation where we are in 2010. 2010 was a situation where government was running increasing deficits, all kinds of deficits, and also banks were lending money like crazy. And RBI was refinancing those kind of activities. When you do that, you have too much money and too few goods, and you have inflation. Now you have at least on the fiscal front, nobody can tell this. This is a very disciplined government. They don't splurge. In fact, the complaint here is they tax too much. Right? They are over-disciplined.
Yes.
So when they are not borrowing, RBI, instead of, I'm not saying bring rate to minus whatever, I'm saying they're increasing rate. Government is also disciplined. RBI is also disciplined.
Banks are also disciplined.
Too much disciplining going on.
Yeah.
And they've increased rate. So they have actually removed money from the system. I'm just saying bring it back. So if the government, I'll give you an example. In the UK, there was, before Rishi Sunak took over, there was a Liz government. You remember she was there for a month.
20-30 days.
20-30 days. Her whole election plank was, I will cut taxes, but not cut expenditure. Which is what a lot of people were suggesting Indian government to do. Cut tax, but don't cut expenditure. She did that. Everything collapsed in a month. In a month, she had to resign. Finance minister had to resign. The prime minister had to resign. Right? If the Bank of England was supporting such an activity, in fact, when Bank of England in that case, what happened was, government ran large deficits. Interest rates started going up. This anybody can understand. Now, Bank of England started financing that so that to bring down interest rate, right? Which created too much money. people anticipated inflation. Instead of interest rate going down, interest rate started going up. That is what your viewers are worried about. I am
And
sympathetic to that.
they should be worried if
They
the
should.
government is
Indisciplined.
like spending like
Yes.
in 2010,
Yes.
where banks are
Yes.
also
Yes.
lending
Yes.
money
Yes.
left, right,
Yes.
and center.
Yes.
But in this scenario,
This is not the scenario.
yeah.
Now we have government is also tight.
So you are saying that if RBI, lowers the interest rates, it will not lead to inflation.
No.
It might lead to inflation, but that is a trade-off between growth and inflation.
Yes, it
which
is.
we should.
What
Our
Rishabh
core
was
inflation
saying.
now is 3.5%.
Hmm.
That is, we are not at, don't go by headline number. It is because of food. And food is not because of demand. It is because of supply. We had, 1 month onion price goes up. Another month potato price goes up. 4th month palm oil goes up. It has nothing to do with, we are going asking for. See, if it is because of demand, then the same critics then should not say government should boost consumption. Then there is already too much consumption.
Yes, exactly.
These are not, you can't make one side, when you speak about one side argument.
और फिर टन के टन फसल वेस्ट भी हो रहा है, नष्ट भी हो रहा है.
And another, no, it is not that issue. We have inflation because of supply side factors, and these things play out. Agar there you want to do something, no, Aryan ji, improve storage. We have terrible storage. We don't have good storage. Go and see in villages.
Yeah, true.
We don't have storage. So the reason, you know what?
आ गए हवेली पे.
Let's be, to just placate you, maybe you will not call me next time. One of the things with farmers is that I've seen a paper my colleague Shilpa Agarwal was presenting here at ISB, that the price is predictably price will go up from the time they harvest to the next 6 months. Predictably price will grow, which means if you have storage capacity, you can definitely make money. But farmers sell immediately as soon as they cultivate. And then they give it to middlemen and who sell at that high prices. The reason is they don't have storing ability.
Also, the finance problem is also there.
Finance, access to credit.
Just want to get rid
of it and all of that, right?
And earn quick money so that they can repay the loan or whatever.
Absolutely. So
वहाँ पे price control का भी घपला है.
all those issues.
Yeah.
This is not RBI increasing.
But even cold storage, building that is also kind of capex only.
अरे भाई हम जो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं 2 मिनट बाद वो यहाँ पे डिस्कस हो रहा है कि कितना हम एक इन ट्यून है with these guys. We are thinking on the same lines. And so many of us, a random podcaster, an economics professor, a college dropout, so many finance and STEM bros on the comment live chat.
Of course, do those capex, not Udan. I have never understood what's the benefit of Udan, even today. One flight, whole airport dedicated for one
Somebody
flight.
tweeted that they are building so many airports in Bihar.
There was an announcement again.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah. So there was an announcement in this budget also, right? So we have to do this, do cold storage, do metro, of course. Now coming back to, so RBI interest rate cut, when I say, I'm saying from those high levels that right now, the real rate, which is interest rate minus expected inflation, if you leave out these food prices, core inflation is 3.5%, 3.7. Actual interest rate people pay is up to 10%. It's very high. People can
quick money so that they can repay the loan or whatever.
Absolutely. So solve those issues.
Solve those issues.
Increasing.
But even cold storage, building that is also kind of capex only.
Of course. Do those capex, not Udan. I have never understood what's the benefit of Udan, even today. One flight.
M Shastri का झाट जलाया जा रहा है.
Whole airport dedicated for one
Somebody
flight.
tweeted that they are building so many airports in Bihar.
There was an announcement again.
Yeah,
this year. Yeah. So there was an announcement in this budget also, right? So we have to do this, do cold storage, do metro, of course. Now coming back to, so RBI interest rate cut, when I say, I'm saying from those high levels that right now, the real rate, which is interest rate minus expected inflation, if you leave out these food prices, core inflation is 3.5%, 3.7. Actual interest rate people pay is up to 10%. It's very high. People cannot afford that. That you bring down. And government is not behaving in an indisciplined manner. And therefore, you will not have very high inflation.
True.
Right? So that is what and if you keep rates high, then all these efforts will go for will become nil. because then despite freeing, you won't be able to invest. Even if you invest, save, there'll be no private investor who will take that money,
So
because their rate
government-
of return is not going to change.
So essentially, the whole summary of this is the government is going in the right direction, but now the RBI needs to take the responsibility and
Cut
do its
dramatically.
job. Yeah,
They will cut dramatically. I would
by
say
2%.
by almost at least 1%. 2%, maybe you wait and watch.
Yeah.
See, things should not happen. The things, what happens is people will be used to a particular thing. Dramatical changing, will create to dislocations. It's better to go systematically slow.
देखो फिर से आरएसएस सोशलिज्म ग्रेजुअल चेंज ब्रो से नहीं होता है
But not as slowly as they would do. Usually they do 25 basis points, then 25 basis points, then 25, then 25. I would say do 250. They should have done already. I think it's already too late. They have already costed the economy because their own estimate was a 7.2% growth. Now they're saying 6.6% growth. They've already costed 0.5% to the economy. I don't know
So
how
you
many
are saying RBI has costed
Of course.
India
Of course.
1% growth.
At least 0.5%. Their own estimate. They said 7.2. They were keeping interest rate high, thinking we are growing at 7.2. So look, if I can, RBI governor's speech should be, I will keep interest rates high, I will reduce inflation this much, and I will also cost this much unemployment.
Because that is what
That is
they
what
are doing.
it is. That is how it.
कौन सा कमेंट ले हम मैं तो हाईलाइट सभी कर रहा हूँ, सभी इंपॉर्टेंट कमेंट्स. अच्छा ऋषि बोल रहा है कि कल ही आरबीआई रेट कट कर देगा. ये क्या हो रहा है? अजीब अजीब टेलीपैथी. M Shastri is pointing out, why aren't we using those airports to improve freight or freight? Why aren't we utilizing it properly? Instead, it is no infra. What about the farmers? गरीब लोगों को. Johar Dada from Jharkhand, Ranchi. What does is Johar a way of saying hello? I didn't know about this. In West Bengal, everyone earns from this. The farm hegemon spikes up the price. The cut money brigade takes the price, and the vendor sells at a higher price. Only the commoners suffer. और उसमें तो है घटिया वेजिटेबल्स भी, कलर किया हुआ, पानी लगाया हुआ, कार्बाइड दिया हुआ, ना न्यूट्रिशन है, ना कैलोरी है, ना कुछ है. हाँ, खाली पीली का कार्बोहाइड्रेट तो है. The best way to develop cold storage infrastructure is to encourage contract farming. The serious question, will Minarchy be able to handle events like COVID, or does it have to increase its size temporarily? देखो गवर्नमेंट तो है मिनार्किज्म में ना, तो ठीक है, थोड़े वक्त के लिए कोऑर्डिनेशन कोलैबोरेशन बढ़ा लेंगे. प्रॉब्लम है कि अगर लेट्स से स्टेट बहुत ही वीक है तो वहां पे वो बोलेगा देखो अब मुझे थोड़े दिन के लिए इमरजेंसी पावर्स चाहिए, तो वो इमरजेंसी पावर्स से शायद कोई हटेगा नहीं एक बार ले लिया तो हमको कोऑर्डिनेशन और कोऑपरेशन ही एनकरेज करना है.
See, how do you think higher interest rate brings down inflation? How does it bring down inflation? It brings down inflation by reducing inflation expectation. Because look, a lot of prices in the economy are set in advance. Your salary is set in advance. You suppose you hire some people, you will decide their salaries today for the next year.
True.
Your rent contract.
Oh, अच्छा शिशिर भगत, nice. Johar to you too.
Is in advance. School fees I have paid for my son is in advance. This is based on expected inflation. It is not based on actual inflation. How can interest rate reduce expected inflation? You know how? By making you and me unemployed. If some of us are unemployed, then we won't ask for higher wage. Imagine a lot of people are unemployed and you give me a wage, you give me a salary. Will I ask for high wage or a low wage?
Of course, you will accept whatever it is.
That is how RBI's instrument is. Reducing, I can say in a sophisticated manner that we are controlling inflation expectation. That is a very sophisticated way of thinking. What do you mean by that? By increasing unemployment. Somebody needs to ask, that's called sacrifice ratio. For 1% inflation, how much unemployment we are willing to tolerate? Will we tolerate 5%? 10%? There is some threshold. We don't even have the number.
Right? As Thomas Sowell said, there are no solutions, only tradeoffs.
So I think
you have to decide a point.
Yes.
Where you sacrifice some inflation.
Holy shit! अरे ये क्या था? ये क्या हो रहा है? What the fuck? अरे अरिहंत भाई, fuck. सब कोई आ गए हमारे टीम पे. लिबर्टेरियंस कहाँ हो, असेंबल, देखो क्या हो रहा है हमारे हिंदी और हिंदुत्व डिस्कोर्स में। देयर आर नो सॉल्यूशंस, ओनली ट्रेड ऑफ्स। ट्विटर में जाके क्या होगा, ट्वीट करके करके, यूट्यूब करके करके ही, रीट्वीट करके करके ही ये सब व्यूज फले हैं भाई। और अगर खुद का ट्विटर, खुद का यूट्यूब रखते, तब वहां पे ये सब डिस्कस नहीं होता। एक्सचेंज ऑफ आइडियाज ऑलवेज वर्क्स टू द बेनिफिट ऑफ एनी सिविलाइजेशन। एक्सचेंज करके सब भोसड़ी वाले आइडियाज मत लो, वो तो अलग बात है। फक।
Yes.
And you
For
get growth,
Yes.
and it should not be too much,
Yes.
but you cannot just say कि growth को छोड़ो, यहाँ पे
Ignore
inflation
करो.
को ही control करना है बस।
Ignore करो completely. मतलब you have to explain why were we forecasting 7.2.
Good. We'll take a 1 minute recap. But before that, let me show you what Grok answered for a very good question that was asked by Abhirzan Patel. Okay, छोटा answer है, मगर it's I think a very fruitful answer. I asked it, can a minarchist government handle a pandemic like COVID-19? तो थोड़ा description दिया है क्या है minarchist government for the beginners here. A minarchist government which advocates for a minimal state with functions limited to the protection of individuals from aggression, theft, breach of contract, and perhaps some public goods which face unique challenges in handling a large-scale public health crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's how it might play out. The strengths: efficiency in crisis management. Minarchists advocate for a lean government, potentially leading to quicker decision making without bureaucratic layers typical of larger governments. This could mean faster responses in terms of policy implementation if the focus is on core protective functions. Private sector involvement: with less government control, there could be a greater reliance on private sector solutions for things like vaccine development, production of medical supplies, no red tape, and even health services. This might spur innovation and efficiency if the market responds well to the crisis. Challenges: public health infrastructure mein, minarchism typically does not support extensive public health systems, which might mean less capacity for mass testing, contact tracing, or public health education. During a pandemic, these are crucial for containment and management. The need for national coordination in response to a global health crisis could be problematic. Minarchist philosophy might lead to less regulatory oversight, which could result in inconsistent health measures across different regions or states. ये point important नहीं है, क्योंकि ये corruption के वजह से non-minarchist socialist चूतिए communist government में भी हो सकता है. With a philosophy that leans towards minimal taxation and government spending, funding for emergency responses could be constrained. तो एक kitty bag rainy day के लिए savings करके रखो. Large-scale interventions like economic support for citizens, healthcare workers, or businesses might not be steadily available. This is not a very significant point. Emergency powers. The balance between individual liberty and public safety is a core issue. In a minarchist system, expanding government powers for healthcare emergencies could be contentious, potentially leading to resistance against measures like lockdowns or mandatory health protocols, जो कि हुआ यूएसए में. और हमारे शीपल ने बोला कि कब मोदी ने क्यों अभी तक वैक्सीन नहीं दिया, without any knowledge about testing. A minarchist, now the possible scenario. See, a minarchist government might focus on ensuring that property rights are not violated while encouraging voluntary compliance with health guidelines. Voluntary compliance. यही पूरा का पूरा game है. They might also prioritize the protection of key infrastructure and ensure that private entities can operate effectively without undue regulation, perhaps only stepping in to ensure contracts are honored or to protect against fraud in healthcare provision. Fair enough. अब ये स्पेसिफिकली कोविड के लिए है. अगर सच में कोई सीरियस पैंडेमिक आता है जिसमें एथलीट्स भी मर रहे हैं, वहां पे तो लोग वैसे भी डर के कंप्लाई करना चाहेंगे. कोविड में तो ये एम्बिग्विटी था कि सीरियस है कि नहीं, यही कंफर्म नहीं है. They could use existing legal frameworks to quickly adapt to laws to allow for emergency health measures, but would likely face public and political debate over how much power should be temporarily ceded to the government. In summary, while a minarchist government might handle a crisis like COVID-19 by leveraging private sector capabilities and maintaining a focus on individual freedoms, it would likely struggle with aspects requiring extensive public health infrastructure, coordinating, and funding. The effectiveness would largely depend on the adaptability of its philosophy to crisis situations, public cooperation, and the robustness of the प्राइवेट सेक्टर्स रिस्पॉन्स. हाँ, बहुत दिन से जब चल जाता है ऐसा कुछ कोई सिचुएशन, तब वहाँ पे थोड़ा सोशल कोहेजन होगा और एक हाई सोसाइटी, हाई ट्रस्ट सोसाइटी का सिचुएशन और इंडिया का सिचुएशन हम कंपेयर भी नहीं कर सकते हैं. मगर ऐसा तो नहीं है कि कोई भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुआ. तो आई थिंक मिनार्किस्ट गवर्नमेंट कुड हैंडल कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक. ओह, मैंने तो पेज चेंज नहीं किया. हाँ. आई नो आई हैव ट्रिगर्ड अ बिग डिबेट. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू कमेंट ऑन इट बिकॉज नहीं तो यहाँ से पूरा हिल जाएंगे अब अगर ये डिबेट करने बैठ गए कि मिनार्किस्ट गवर्नमेंट कम करेगा कि नहीं.
True.
Your rent contract is in advance. School fees I have paid for my son is in advance to the economy. I don't
So
know
you
how
are
many jobs.
saying RBI has costed
Of course.
India
Of course.
1% growth.
At least half a percent. Their own estimate. They said 7.2. They were keeping interest rate high thinking we are growing at 7.2. So look, if I can, RBI governor's speech should be, I will keep interest rates high. I will reduce inflation this much and I will also cost this much unemployment.
Because that is what
That is
they
what
are
it
doing.
is. That is how it. See, how do you think higher interest rate brings down inflation? You know how does it bring down inflation? It brings down inflation by reducing inflation expectation. Because look, lot of prices in the economy are set in advance. Your salary is set in advance. You suppose you hire some people, you will decide their salaries today for the next year.
True.
Your rent contract is in advance. School fees I have paid for my son is in advance. This is based on expected inflation. It is not based on actual inflation. How can interest rate reduce expected inflation? You know how? By making you and me unemployed. If some of us are unemployed, then we won't ask for higher wage. Imagine a lot of people are unemployed and you give me a wage. You give me a salary. Will I ask for high wage or a low wage?
Of course, you will accept whatever it is.
That is how RBI's instrument is. Reducing, I can say in a sophisticated manner that we are controlling inflation expectation. That is very sophisticated way of thinking. What do you mean by that? By increasing unemployment. Somebody needs to ask, that's called sacrifice ratio. For 1% inflation, how much unemployment we are willing to tolerate? Will we tolerate 5%? 10%? There is some threshold. We don't even have the number. Right?
As Thomas Sowell said, there are no solutions, only
Yes.
trade-offs.
So I think
you have to decide a point
yes.
where you sacrifice.
हाँ, थोड़ा फिर से यहाँ पे पॉज देते हैं. ठीक है, एक अच्छा क्वेश्चन आया है. हाउ टू काउंटर द आर्ग्यूमेंट दैट इफ देयर इज टैक्स रेट्स that government can increase some sectors and punish harmful industries as people tend to not be very good with self control like tobacco or gutkha. एक तो है फ्रीडम ऑफ चॉइस, लिबर्टी एटसेट्रा, वो देना है कि नहीं. और तो इनकम टैक्स रेट्स का बात हो रहा है. जीएसटी वीएसटी पूरा हटा के एनार्को कैपिटलिज्म का बात थोड़ी हो रहा है. जीएसटी अगर लिबर्टी का गान मारना ही है तो टोबैको पे जीएसटी बढ़ा दो. क्योंकि एक आर्ग्यूमेंट ये भी है कि पब्लिक सेक्टर हॉस्पिटल्स अगर चले तो टोबैको और गुटखा में तो थोड़ा रोक लाना ही चाहिए क्योंकि लिबर्टी का मार के, क्योंकि उसके लिए तो पब्लिक हॉस्पिटल्स पे ही प्रेशर पड़ेगा. तो थोड़ा बहुत तो डंडे मार के लोगों को हेल्दी रखना ही है.
Some inflation.
Yes.
And
For
get growth.
Yes.
And it should not be too much.
Yes.
But you cannot just say कि growth को छोड़ो, यहाँ पे inflation को ही control करना है.
Ignore करो completely. मतलब you have to explain why were we forecasting 7.2 and it became 6.6.
उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है.
आप सोचिए, गलती हो गई. 7.2 पे आपका कोई पॉलिसी था.
बट आप पिछले 10 साल में ये देखिए कि कितनी बार ऐसी गलती हुई.
होता रहता है, गलती होता है. वो छोड़िए, एक बार हो गया. 7.2 आपने सोचा था, अब 6.6 हो गया. ओके.
हाँ हरीश, अब दो आर्गुमेंट दो.
मान लिया ये कोई डेलिबरेट नहीं था, गलती था, हो गया. अभी पर आपको अब सोचना पड़ेगा, जो पॉलिसी मैंने सोच के बनाया था कि 7.2 है, वही पॉलिसी 6.2 पे.
एक ब्रह्मो, एक बात तो ये है कि भोसरी की अल्कोहल लीगल ही क्यों है अगर गांजा लीगल नहीं है. या तो दोनों को ही लीगल कर दो या तो दोनों को लीगल करो. क्योंकि मारिजुआना लीगल होने से अल्कोहल कंजम्पशन वैसे भी कम हो जाएगा और उसके लिए पब्लिक हॉस्पिटल्स में प्रेशर वैसे भी कम हो जाएगा, क्योंकि घटेगा एटलीस्ट. क्योंकि अल्कोहल इज वे मोर हार्मफुल टू द बॉडी देन अ जॉइंट. एंड प्लस वाइफ बीटिंग वगैरह तो नहीं करके चिल मारेंगे तो बीवी को मारेंगे कब दारू पी के.
6.6 पे नहीं होगा.
बिल्कुल.
इमीडिएटली आपको चेंज करना था, बट 6.6 पे भी आप वही कर रहे हो. इसका मतलब है वो 7.2 से जो 6.6 कम हुआ है उसके कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता आपको. ऐसे कैसे चलेगा? ये नहीं चलेगा. देयर इज अ ट्रेड ऑफ. यू कैन इग्नोर दैट ट्रेड ऑफ. आपने ये जो किया था 7.2 सोच के किया था. ओके, जेन्युइनली आपने सोचा है 7.2 हो रहा है क्योंकि बहुत लोग पॉलिसी वाले बाहर नहीं जाते, मतलब कार से बात नहीं करते लोगों से. यू जस्ट हैव टू टॉक टू पीपल. figure out what is going on in the economy. Go to some small
एक हिंदी पॉडकास्ट में सेम पॉडकास्ट में मिल्टन फ्रीडमैन और थॉमस वेल दोनों का नाम ले लिया.
farmer and talk, small businessman and talk, you will understand what is going on. Politicians and a lot of policymakers don't do that. Even academics don't do that. Let me be very honest. Right? If you do that, you realize. Agar now for this 0.6, it has reduced, your policy should change. Immediately you should have cut.
Yeah.
But then it has been like 4 months now. Since 3 months since that number came, 2.5 months. 5.4% ka jo number hai. So far there is no cut. There will be some cut.
But if I am just a curious person who is looking at RBI
Right.
giving money back to the government, and I also think that mostly people will believe that because he's a bureaucrat, the latest RBI governor and even the previous one, who are also kind of favorites of Prime Minister Modi. So why they are not following the government's policy or government's, they should be focusing on the growth also, no?
The RBI works in mysterious ways. We are not meant to understand RBI. RBI दिल में आते हैं, समझ में नहीं.
Government has this misconception that if you bring in officers, they will do what government wants. I think it's I don't know, government's misconception or it is a media's misconception. They have not done. So it is not true. And to their credit, in fact, that's how it should be. The RBI governor should not be a puppet of the government. Why should they be? I'm not saying RBI governor should do whatever the government says. Suppose if the government was splurging money.
But he should also not do something just to spite it. Just to prove his independence.
That is the trade. That is why it is not very one-way, straightforward stuff.
Holy shit! ये क्या पॉडकास्ट हो रहा है? क्या पैरेलल यूनिवर्स सच में एग्जिस्ट करता है? क्या हम एक्चुअली वहां पे सामने बैठे थे? क्या एक पैरेलल यूनिवर्स में मैं वहां पे भोसरी के कैमरामैन हूँ वाद का? क्या मैं ही अरिहंत हूँ कोई पैरेलल यूनिवर्स में, या फिर मैं ही प्रोफेसर हूँ, या फिर हम सब कोई ना कोई पैरेलल यूनिवर्स में अरिहंत थे या प्रोफेसर थे या कैमरामैन थे, और आज हम इस यूनिवर्स में सारे आ गए हैं देखने के लिए ये पॉडकास्ट.
Everything in life is not that simple. Let's say if the government was splurging money and doing all kinds of crony lending and all of that, in that case, I would have said it's justified.
Yes.
Because then it's going to create inflation, your deficits running, and then RBI should have kept rate. Here is the case, COVID, maybe these people did not run huge deficits. What more you want? How much more credibility you want? The FM says 4.5, she delivers 4.4. So the inflation that is happening is nothing to do with money supply or excess demand. Inflation is because of the Ukraine war and all of that. They will not remain forever. Or rainfall will be good sometime, rainfall will be bad sometime. Solution is government solution.
एक मजे का बात है कि मनमोहन सिंह जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर थे तब इतना पूरे दुनिया में इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ का माहौल था कि तब कोई ज्यादा बिना चैलेंज के ही सब काम कर लिया, और फिर भी बैंक को पूरा खुली छूट दे दी चुतियापा करने को. और सबसे चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशंस तो संजीव सन्याल मोदी ने ही फेस किया है, निर्मला सीतारमण वगैरह ने.
And I'll blame the government also. Government should find a supply side solution.
Let's take this point. Tobacco price is inelastic. So that is, even if you increase price, addicts will still buy. So you can increase price via tax, and consumption reduction will not be proportional while disincentivizing new people. Not bad. But again, यहाँ पे liberty argument फिर भी आता है कि who are you to disincentivize it? Disincentivizing should happen because जाओगे तो भाई सरकारी हॉस्पिटल में ही मुंह में कैंसर लेके.
This should not keep happening every time, because then it will lead to inflation expectation.
True.
Right? So just to prove your independence, you can't just be killing the growth. My question is this only: when you realize 7.2 is wrong and it's 6.6, then immediately you should have cut rate.
Shomotanu, India did not face the brunt of 2008 at all. It was not that interconnected with the global economy. कुछ फर्क ही नहीं पड़ा ज़्यादा इंडिया में.
Because all my models were thinking based on 7.2. कोई भी mathematical model हो, you input 7.2, it will give you some decision. Once you realize it's not 7.2 or 6.0, input 6.6. Now it will give you a different decision. There's a Taylor rule. Yeah. There is actually a rule called Taylor rule. If you change growth, it will give a different interest rate. Follow Taylor rule. Be scientific. What rule you are following? Once your growth numbers are different, Taylor rule's prediction for interest rate will be different.
So, okay, this is RBI.
Right.
We have discussed the government's role also.
Right.
What will be your advice to the government Of course, we can't advise the RBI because they
Oh no, even the government cannot. That much I have realized.
exactly. So
हाँ सोमतनु तो जैसे कि 2008 क्राइसिस के पहले 7.1% जीडीपी ग्रोथ रेट था और फिर 2008 में जीडीपी ग्रोथ रेट घट के 3.1% हो जाता है और फिर अगले साल फिर से 7-8 तक उठ जाता है. थोड़ा थोड़ा टेम्पोररी एक शॉक था, कुछ लोगों का नौकरी वकरी गया था.
वहां पे हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते.
कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकता.
So what will you say to the government?
I think they should stay the course, and now it's time to focus on reforms. This
I agree with the immoral decision even because अगर पब्लिक हॉस्पिटल है तो पब्लिक हॉस्पिटल में लोग ज़्यादा ना जाए, प्रेशर ज़्यादा ना हो, तो वो भी आई थिंक शिनानिगंस करने का मॉरल राइट है गवर्नमेंट के पास. अगर पब्लिक हॉस्पिटल सब बंद कर देता है तो then I don't have a problem with you having mouth cancer with by taking so much tobacco.
I think they've realized that money throwing is not the solution. Now, the first thing, there are 3-4 things. जो labor law which is sitting in the fridge, some fridge somewhere, should be brought out because look, there are so many papers. There's a paper.
और फिर सोमोतो ने ये भी है कि 2008 का क्राइसिस लॉन्ग सस्टेनिंग भी नहीं था. यहाँ पे तो कोविड आया, फिर युद्ध के बाद युद्ध, यहाँ पे ऑयल एम्बार्गो, ये सब चलते जा रहा है.
By Burgess and in 2004, different.
So okay, this is RBI.
Right.
We have discussed the government's role also.
Right.
What will be your advice to the government? Of course, we can't advise the RBI because they
Oh no, even the government
Independent
cannot. That much I have realized.
exactly. So वहां पे हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते.
कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकता.
So what will you say to the government?
I think they should stay the course, and now it's time to focus on reforms. I think they've realized that money throwing is not the solution. Now, the first thing, there are 3-4 things. जो labor law which is sitting in the fridge, some fridge somewhere, should be brought out because look, there are so many papers. There's a paper by Burgess and in 2004, Burgess and his co-author, which clearly shows India. What he did was he classified Indian states based on how stringent is the labor law. In states where labor laws are liberal, employment is higher. Yes. If you
But
make
कितना impact होता है because हम सुन
Burgess and in 2004, Burgess and his co-author, which clearly shows India. What he did was he classified Indian states based on how stringent is the labor law. In states where labor laws are liberal, employment is higher. Yes. If you
But
make
कितना impact होता है because हम सुनते हैं कि land, labor ये बहुत जरूरी है.
right.
But कितना drastic
तो कोरिलेशन तो कॉजेशन नहीं है. देखते हैं एक्सप्लेनेशन कुछ है कि नहीं यहाँ पे.
impact आएगा
उस पेपर
क्योंकि
का
अब
नंबर
कई लोग क्योंकि बार-बार उसको सुनते हैं ना.
और बिकॉज वी आर कंपेयरिंग दो स्टेट्स विद एब्सोल्युटली नथिंग. तो जहाँ पे थोड़ा बहुत फंक्शनिंग बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट है वहाँ पे ही लेबर लॉज भी है. जहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं है वहाँ पे लेबर लॉज शायद कम है, इसलिए वहाँ का डेटा कम दिखा रहा है. वहाँ पे जीडीपी वगैरह इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटी कम हो रहा है. ऐसा है क्या
ना कि लैंड लेबर अरे हाँ ठीक है, इतना भी फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
इतना एस्टिमेट करना मुश्किल है बिकॉज क्या होता है कि मैंने एक स्टडी किया रिसेंटली. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि ये लोग सर्कमवेंट करते हैं. जहाँ पे लेबर लॉ स्ट्रिक्ट है ना, वहाँ पे क्या होता है 80% ऑफ द वर्कर्स आर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वर्कर्स. Even for jobs where you need permanent workers, they have contract workers.
Nice.
Yesterday, I was talking to a colleague of mine. He told me he was working somewhere and he wanted to meet workers. And he found that this factory works only at night. And I figured out what is so special about this factory. They had 150 workers or something.
Porn actor.
At 100 workers, labor law threshold comes in. And they wanted to morning time पे inspector आ जाए. रात को अगर करोगे इंस्पेक्टर नहीं आएगा. There was some factory which was inefficiently working 2 shifts.
हमारे बेंगाली कॉमियों में एक प्रोवर्ब है कि पुलिस तुम যতই मारो मायने तुम्हार 112. कि पुलिस तुम जितना भी हमको मार लो, हम तो इनोसेंट कॉमी प्रोटेस्टर्स हैं, तुम्हारा सैलरी 112 रुपए ही है. तो यहाँ पे वो मुझे याद आया कि तुम जितना भी लेबर लॉ डालो सरकमवेंट तो भोसरी के हम करेंगे ही करेंगे.
50 workers work in the morning, 50 workers work in the at night. To avoid when labor inspector comes, you should show 50 workers only. रात को तो कभी नहीं आएगा that inspector. So I'm saying there are so many inefficiencies. When they go, how it will benefit? I think it is very difficult to quantify. I just don't want to throw a number off at. If you give me time, Maybe I'll think
Yeah,
about it
maybe
and
you
get
should
back.
research on it,
You know,
because
I'll
I think
think
there was a
about
lot
it.
of difference.
It will be significant for
No, Rishabh, I think he said stringent labor laws, not liberal labor laws.
sure.
I remember, I think Vasundhara Raje came up with some amendments to labor laws, and
It-
she implemented land labor also.
Mhm.
So maybe we can compare Rajasthan with,
They have
say,
done it, no?
Madhya
Economic
Pradesh.
survey, Professor Subbu's economic survey has done that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember the numbers.
Okay.
So they have done Rajasthan versus other states, 2020 or 21. Economic survey में एक chapter है. There they have done, they show that there is improvement. And I remember it's a significant improvement. How much it is, I don't remember right now.
Okay.
But it makes a difference. So labor law, implement karo. The other one, you know, many reforms, you know, all other reforms. Credit market, you know, we have discussed and you are sick of discussion. But I still want to make a point. Don't make this guarantee model.
इस बार भी है
वही
budget
है
में?
और बड़ा हो guarantee. You know, something which I really disappointed this time is that something which is not working, government is the only organization can do more of bad things.
Because बोलो सब बोलो, थर्ड पार्टी नॉन स्टेक होल्डर, थर्ड पार्टी नॉन स्टेक होल्डर, थर्ड पार्टी नॉन स्टेक होल्डर के हाथ में जो दोगे वो उसका भोसला बना देगा. नेगोशिएशंस हैज टू बी बिटवीन टू कंसेंटिंग एडल्ट्स, और सेक्स में भी, बिजनेस में भी, हर कुछ में. और like libertarians say that if you put the government in charge of sand in a desert, he will run out of sand even.
Because there is no market to punish them. Right? I'll give a simple example. There is an organization called NABFID, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure Development. Government put in a capital of 10,000 crore. And they have some 10,000 crore of profit. They have 20,000 crore of capital. End of last year, they lent 35,000 crore. They can easily raise another 80,000 crore from the market. Lend another 1 lakh. ये जो 1 lakh crore कम हो रहा है ना, NABFID can fund. Government need not fund. Right?
But why it's not happening?
They are not doing it. It's not money. You need to have people with capability to assess projects. See, one thing I really get,
कैपेबिलिटी टू असेस प्रोजेक्ट्स. भाई जिसके पास वो दिमाग है, वो दिमाग वाले को तो हमने बोल दिया है कि भाई तुम तो मोनोपोलाइज कर लोगे, तुम्हारा काम तब कैसे चलेगा.
sometimes really I feel sad when I see commentary is I spent 3 years on the board of Power Finance Corporation, and I see that it's not just the money. We approve loans and it takes 5 years for them to take that money. There's so many things, you know. You need people to assess these demand type, consumption types. Think that dosa making is there is nothing to learn in dosa. Try making dosa, I'll tell you. Even if you want dosa, I won't be able to make dosa for you. You will not eat also.
तो ये constants किस चीज के?
इस NABFID में project assess करना है. You need expertise. You need to understand how to assess project, how to lend. You know, उसमें NPA हो सकता है.
monopoly.
And there are other constraints. Vigilance बैठा हुआ है.
बौद्धिक
NPA
monopoly.
हुआ तो वो तुम्हें जेल डालेगा.
You are saying कि ये जो
Western style
reforms वाला
capitalism.
part
ये
है,
सब
इस पे focus होना
इस पे
चाहिए.
focus होना चाहिए. पैसा आ
So
जाएगा.
basically एक department of government efficiency.
हाँ, तो
या
there is-
regulatory efficiency.
By the way, हाँ, तो ये लगता है कि आप ही ने लिखा होगा. You seem to be with lot of reach. Government has made this announcement. But they have announced a committee
अच्छा.
which will look at exactly this. In the budget, one of the
और
announced
जो लोग बोल रहे हैं कि कमेटी होना चाहिए था, इलॉन मस्क नहीं होना चाहिए था, अब देखो इंडिया में क्या प्रॉब्लम होगा.
announcement which is really good is this. They will have a committee which will examine all regulations.
हाँ.
And how can you make regulations efficient? My fear is
वो कमेटी में कौन है? ब्यूरोक्रेट है? वो टैक्सपेयर फंडेड कमेटी है ना.
बट जो बनाने वाले
वही
हैं
लोग करेंगे, फिर से
तो
वही करेंगे.
बाबू लोग.
तो क्वेश्चन इज व्हाई इज NABFID नॉट एबल टू लेंड? एंड उसमें भी जो 40-50 हजार करोड़ उन्होंने लेंड किया ना, रीफाइनेंसिंग हो रहा है. आई डोंट नो हाउ मच इज रीफाइनेंसिंग. जो किसी ने लेंड किया देयर फाइनेंसिंग, इट इज नॉट क्रिएटिंग मोर प्रोजेक्ट्स. सो इफ देयर इज सो मच नीड फॉर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, लाइक लॉट ऑफ योर our friends in the media talk about, why is NABFID not lending with so much capital? If there is so much demand, why do you need taxpayers' money?
So basically all these regulations are killing.
Yes.
Everything.
So unless you solve those, that's why I'm very happy. First step is not waste money. I understand. The bigger thing is solve these problems. What they have done in this budget is at least they have
First
realized.
step is save money,
Don't
don't spend.
waste.
हाँ, ये मेमेंटो चल रहा है यहाँ पे.
At least give it back
Recklessly.
to Arihant. Let him eat dosa.
Yeah.
You know, let him do whatever he wants, and let this guy contractor, instead of wasting money on airport,
Do
to
something
make dosas.
productive.
you know, a
हिमशास्त्री का झाट फिर से जला दिया.
dance or something.
ये इनका ऑब्सेशन है दो चीज, एक है डोसा, एक है एयरपोर्ट काहे बनाया भोसरी के गांव में.
That will improve GDP. But of course, we need infrastructure. It does not mean everybody eat dosas. You have to figure out how do you finance it. And one solution, concrete. I was speaking to people.
सब लोग डोसा नहीं खाएंगे तो हमारा एक जो कम्युनिटी फीलिंग है वो कैसे चलेगा.
People in the infrastructure sector. One problem they have, where government can actually help, is cost of funding in developed countries, even now with higher interest rate, is much lower than in India. If a Indian, because our credit rating is bad, when we go and borrow from the international market, we borrow at a much higher interest rate, which increases our cost.
हाँ, जो लोग बोलते हैं अर्थशास्त्र को कास्टिस्ट, क्योंकि वहां पे बोला गया है, हिंदू टेक्स्ट में बहुत जगह पे ये सब डिस्कस हुआ है कि डिफरेंट कास्ट के लिए डिफरेंट इंटरेस्ट रेट्स. अब बोलो कि इंडिया को हायर इंटरेस्ट रेट काहे देना पड़ता है, वो लोग रेसिस्ट है, वेस्टर्न इब्राहिमिक कैपिटलिज्म है इसलिए.
On the ground, because interest rate is they borrow 80 infrastructure projects are like 80% borrowed, 75% borrowed. So if your cost of funding is higher, so government for farmers, government has a scheme called subvention. You know, it's this year they have, I know you love everything of that. They've increased from 3 lakh to 5 lakh. But it's a very good scheme in the sense, think about waiver. Waiver mein kya hota hai? You incentivize default. Subvention is not like that. Subvention is, you repay, after you repay, I'll give you some discount. Only if you repay.
There is some incentive to repay.
I'll give you discount only if you repay. Right? But I believe they are doing it too much. It used to be only initially just 2%. Now they almost made it full discount.
पर उसमें ये भी होता होगा ना कि जैसे अगर मैंने लोन लिया, मैंने पे कर दिया, मेरे को डिस्काउंट मिल गया, मैंने फिर से वही लोन ले लिया.
हाँ, वो तो एवरग्रीनिंग है. तो डिस्काउंट सिर्फ इंटरेस्ट पे मिलता है. तो ऐसा नहीं कि आपको सारा पैसा वापस आ जाएगा. इंटरेस्ट 7% इंस्टेड ऑफ 7%, इट मे बिकम 3%.
ये अरिहंत इतना पढ़ता कब है? ये चैनल कौन चलाता है? यूएसए एआईडी फंडेड है क्या ये चैनल?
So you save that much. It's not like it's a waiver. Waiver mein you get entire thing waived off.
True.
So government can think of something like that for infrastructure. I know companies like Vedanta and all borrowing at like 8%, 9%, 10% from the market. These are good companies. Now, if they are investing in greenfield infrastructure, new projects, it has to be greenfield. Here, refinancing they should not do. If it is new infrastructure, give them an interest subvention of like 2% or 3%. And if you give 3%, some 10,000 crores can create 30 times more of, 3 lakh crore of investment.
Exactly.
With 3%.
Because he will look at the value,
Yes.
that return also.
Yes.
Unlike say government,
Yes.
where you fix the budget and
Yes.
you spend
Yes.
it recklessly.
Yes.
Exactly.
These companies at least will have
They have shareholders to answer.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is because of our poor credit
Shareholders to answer. Who are shareholders? Who are direct stakeholders?
rating. It's not that guy's fault. Our India credit rating is poor. When he goes to international market,
So
this guy is,
can this solve our problem of we have a problem in the country that private sector is not investing enough.
this
Government
will-
is investing,
Yes.
but private sector is not, despite bank cleanup and everything. So can this help
बैंक क्लीनअप है इसीलिए शायद इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर रहे हैं.
solve this problem
help.
to an extent?
Yes, to an extent, I agree.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, again, regulations,
Yeah, because
pain,
it's not a
all-
one
it's not the
factor
one
thing.
thing. This
Yeah.
will definitely help because this is one of the reasons. This I'm not saying as an academician. I've seen this on the ground and telling people are not able to invest. Whatever you do, because cost is so high, if you give and it won't cost same capital that you put in AppFit.
So
Instead,
अगर
उसी को उठा के डाल दो इधर.
अगर मान लीजिए आरबीआई नहीं सुधरती है
वो तो कभी नहीं सुन.
तो
वैसे एके ब्रह्म कोक्स करने से थोड़ी हो जाएगा. देखो आज तक ब्लैक नेबरहुड्स में इंश्योरेंस रेट्स ज्यादा है. कोई अगर इन्वेस्ट करता भी है तो इन्वेस्टमेंट्स है ही नहीं ज्यादा. क्यों है? उसी रीजन से टीयर 3 सिटीज में भी इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं होगा. बिजनेस फ्रेंडली एटमॉस्फेयर नहीं है, तोलाबाजी और भी ज्यादा है, गुंडागर्दी है सड़कों पे. कोक्स करने से थोड़ी इन्वेस्टमेंट हो जाएगा. पहले अपने सिटीज को क्लीन अप करना पड़ेगा विद लॉ एंड ऑर्डर.
क्या ये सरकार सबवेंशन के थ्रू उनके इंटरेस्ट रेट लोअर कर सकती है?
एब्सोल्युटली.
Okay.
क्यों नहीं? ज्यादा पैसा नहीं चाहिए. मैं कह रहा हूं कि नैपफिट को बंद करो. उसका जो 20,000 करोड़ है उसको लेके इसमें डाल दो. एक्स्ट्रा देयर इज नथिंग टू you can move from there to here. There is nothing you
या
need.
फिर जो आप एक्स्ट्रा स्पेंडिंग करने वाले थे
हाँ, उसको इसमें करो.
उसको इसमें कर दो.
इसमें कर दो. तो it won't cost much. It will propel 2-3 lakh crore of investment in my view. With other things, of course, there are other
So you
constraints.
have
also.
plan B also. मतलब सरकार के लिए अगर आरबीआई नहीं मानते तो ये कर
हाँ
लो।
तो आरबीआई फाइनली मानेगी, पर होपफुली कैसे भी बनाओ।
आधा वो मान जाए, आधा आप कर लो।
हाँ,
अगर
तो-
पूरा भी नहीं मानते हैं
हाँ तो टैक्स लोगों, इसी टैक्स में ये है कि आप गन रख के ले रहे हो पैसे, इसमें डिसिप्लिन।
गन रख के पैसे ले रहे हो, पैसा टेकन विदाउट कंसेंट, टैक्सेशन इज थेफ्ट।
आधा वो मान जाए, आधा आप कर लो।
हाँ,
अगर
तो-
पूरा भी नहीं मानते हैं
हाँ तो टैक्स लोगों, इसी टैक्स में ये है कि आप गन रख के ले रहे हो पैसे, इसमें डिसिप्लिन चला जाता है, बिकॉज
वाह।
गवर्नमेंट, बिकॉज दे आर एबल टू टेक।
Because they are third party non-stakeholders.
एक बार आप ऐसे मार्केट से थ्रू आप सोचने लगोगे तो यू विल हैव टू बी डिसिप्लिन। वो बहुत बड़ा फायदा है। डोंट यूज टैक्स मनी, बिकॉज टैक्स मनी दे स्टार्ट ट्रीटिंग इट एज फ्री मनी।
Yes. Third party non-stakeholders. फिर से बोलो,
उसमें कोई कॉस्ट नहीं है, ले लो देन स्पेंड।
जोर से बोलो।
चलिए सर, बहुत अच्छा डिस्कशन हो गया और आई थिंक वी हैव कवर्ड ऑल द पॉइंट्स
नाइस
एंड
नाइस।
इट्स
कोई जाओ वीडियो में थोड़ा लाइक वगैरह डालो, सब्सक्राइब करो इनके चैनल को। Holy shit. If law and order is controlled, automatically credit will become easier and middle class people and their employees will move in. Example, Deloitte. I don't know how to pronounce it. Deloitte recently said it's opening an office in Lucknow. Yes, I want tier 3 cities like Bardhaman and Gorakhpur to fix themselves up. Their own businessmen making up a system that facilitates their own economic growth. हाँ, बर्धमान में, हाँ हमारे बर्धमान में तो अब अगर मतलब ठीक है, it's not a bad idea even in theory. कि it may happen that just the municipality of Bardhaman, who does not have say in West Bengal police because it's more centrally handled. But even if the people decide that we are going to take care of law and order, तोलाबाजी बंद करना ही होगा, उसमें क्या प्रॉब्लम आएगा? वहाँ के आधे से ज्यादा यूथ तो खुद तोलाबाज है, उसका एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी है ही तृणमूल के लिए काम करना, तो उसके लिए तो क्या क्या देखो क्या क्या ट्रैप है ना? तोलाबाजी क्यों कर रहा है? इकोनॉमिक अपॉर्चुनिटी, नौकरी नहीं है इसलिए। नौकरी क्यों नहीं है? बिजनेस नहीं आ रहा है। बिजनेस क्यों नहीं आ रहा है? तोलाबाजी है इसलिए। शुभेंदु आके क्या करेगा पता नहीं। हाँ, जोर से बोलो, सब मिलके बोलो, थर्ड पार्टी नॉन स्टेक होल्डर। Yeah, good podcast. Wait for my gun rights argument. Since the special community is evolved in violence, guns will be their turf, so they will outcompete us. It's like India getting Tejas while USA has 6th gen. The gap can't be closed easily. No. A bullet is a bullet, first of all. हार्ट तो हार्ट ही है। बंदूक, तुम AR-15 का बंदूक से गोली मारो या ढिचकियां वाला मारो, गोली तो निकलेगा ही। हाँ ठीक है, ज्यादा गोली निकलेगा तो और भी ज्यादा लोग मार पाएंगे। बट इफ इट्स मोर ऑफ अ स्मॉल ग्रुप वर्सेस स्मॉल ग्रुप, तो इट्स नॉट दैट बिग ऑफ अ प्रॉब्लम। बट मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली, इवॉल्व्ड इन गन्स मतलब क्या है भाई? राइट्स में तलवार यूज होते हैं ज्यादातर, राइट्स में गन्स कहाँ यूज होता है? गन्स, और उसमें से मतलब कौन किसको काट के चला गया वो ट्रेस करना भी थोड़ा ज्यादा मुश्किल होता है, इसलिए तलवार यूज होता है। With the advantage, the special committee will lose civil war, and if it happens that then we have lost since Viksit Bharat will stall. No, that's not a problem with gun rights. Explain तोलाबाज. तोलाबाज is हफ्ता वसूली. तृणमूल वालों को हम तोलाबाज बोलते हैं. Shubhendu says he's going to crack down on crime. What's your take? I think he will. He will lose a lot of things in the process. क्योंकि क्रैकडाउन करना होता तो ममता बनर्जी 16 साल के बाद काम करना बंद नहीं कर देती। कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स है, क्रैकडाउन विल कम एट अ कॉस्ट। एक तो है कि पूरा का पूरा जेयू और प्रेसिडेंसी के फर्स्ट ईयर सेकंड ईयर के छात्र छात्राएं छात्रियां सब प्रोसेशन में निकल आएंगे। मगर तुम, और ये भी है कि ज्यादातर गुंडे अगर मुस्लिम निकले, उनको तुम डंडे मारोगे, हो गया सत्यानाश। और फिर ये भी है कि the nexus of corrupt police, corrupt bureaucrats and तोलाबाज, एक को डंडे मारोगे, डंडे इनडायरेक्टली सब पे पड़ेगा, उन सब का खाना पीना थोड़ा बहुत कम होगा या बंद होगा, तो कौन कितना तक क्या करने देगा? हर कोई शुभेंदु को कहीं ना कहीं, बीजेपी के हर आदमी को बैक स्टेप करने का कोशिश करेगा। और वहां पे अगर कोई चुतिया है जो कि पूरी तरह से हैज नॉट बॉट इनटू द प्रोग्राम ऑफ शुभेंदु, बीजेपी शुभेंदु को बैकस्टैप करने के लिए लोग कम नहीं पड़े हैं बीजेपी में. कोई ना कोई यहाँ पे कुछ सेटलमेंट कर लेगा, खुद शुभेंदु गायब हो जाएगा. दीर्घ सूत्रता to respond to that. That's just how we have our morality has been made to evolve. Shubhendu nahi aayega, I've given up. I'm bullish on Hindus excelling in free market even in culture wars. Fair enough. Yes, I just want tier 3 cities to become quasi anarcho capitalists. Wahi to, it should happen. It has to start somewhere. Murshidabad is already the illegal gun capital of India. Gun rights will live in the field. Yes. Shubhendu is already being backstabbed. Exactly. That is my point. Have you ever reviewed your world? No. Okay, then let's end the live stream now. It was a very, very nice, fruitful, constructive discussion. Thank you so much, Arihant and Professor Tantri. I hope you do more Tantra in the coming days with economics. Thank you for joining, guys. Good night. Bye bye.
যদি সবাই ফিরে যায় ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা সবাই ফিরে যায় যদি গহন পথে যাওয়ার কালে কেউ ফিরে না যায় তবে পথের কাটা তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে তুই রক্ত মাখা চরণ তলে একলা দলরে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না তবে একলা চলো রে যদি আলো না ধরে ওরে ওরে ও ভাগা আলো না ধরে যদি ঝড় বাদলে আধার রাতে দুয়ার দেয় ঘরে তবে বজ্রানলে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে আপন বুকের পাঁজর জ্বালিয়ে নিয়ে একলা চলো রে যদি তোর ডাক শুনে কেউ না আসে তবে একলা চলো রে একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো একলা চলো রে